were gonna see who could eat the most cotton candy, and I won.
I'm impressed you could stomach it at all.
Hey, everybody, welcome to new season, new episode of Cheap Seat Critics podcast coming to you right now. With me today we have,
Hello, everybody. I'm one of your hosts, Geeky Rider.
I'm Crimson Maroon.
and I'm Sprinks. And hey, if you're listening from Retroville, you can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Blueski, LetterBoxd, where we have averaged out graphs and numbers and whatnot, as well as visual side of things on YouTube and Rumble, and audio platform wise, ton of other places there. I think
Is
that's everything.
Retroville adjacent to Retroland?
Yeah, by the geography of this place, of what we're watching, I think so. Yeah. So,
What's significant about this one, Sprinks?
yes, what's significant about this one, audience, is that this one was the one chosen by you down the line from our polls we had in honor of our 100 subscriber count hit on YouTube's end, where we had 4 kind of different genres as polls, and then the one that won out of those 4 was aliens. So then we had 4 other choices for aliens of different movies, and Jimmy Neutron won. So this is chosen by you.
The people.
You gotta go with the extra Bane bit.
A little Bane bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's start with histories, and then we'll do facts, and then we'll do coverage. Coverage today, audience, is going to be popcorn structure, so we'll jump around wherever we want in the movie, kind of thing, and then summaries, ratings at the end. Let's start with Ryder for history.
All right. My history is long and illustrious, as you know. No, this is my second time seeing the film for the podcast. And I can only say I have seen some of this film beforehand when I was a young lad. But I honestly don't remember much of it. I only remember a single bit that like triggered me into remembering that I've actually seen it before. Um, and as for the show itself, for Jimmy Neutron's show, I've probably only seen 1 or 2 episodes out of context.
Okay, not all that much then. Crimson, would you like to go next, or should I?
I can go
Because
next.
I feel like we have a bit of a Knives Out situation.
A Knives Out situation, kind of related to the last time seeing it, anyways. Sure, I'll go. So I've probably seen this movie around a dozen times, maybe a little more. I owned it on VHS. The last time I saw it was about 4 years ago when Sprinks lived with me, and there was a power outage one night. So we sat and watched it on. What was it on?
A portable DVD player.
I think so. I don't own it. I think it was I think it was on my iPad actually. So we watched it together during a blackout. I don't really know why we picked that movie in particular, but that's what we chose. In terms of the show, I saw the entire series when I was a kid. I haven't seen it in a long time. I saw Planet Sheen. I don't know if I saw all of Planet Sheen, but I did watch it. Saw Jimmy Timmy Power Hour. I have some Jimmy Neutron trading cards that they used to put in like cereal boxes and fruit roll up boxes and stuff. Anything else with Jimmy Neutron? I'm probably forgetting something else out there, but that's probably the bulk of it.
All right. Well, that leaves me then. Last time I saw this was in 2021 with Crimson during a blackout. Other than that, I've probably seen this movie again, also like a dozen times or something. I watched it a lot more when I was younger, and before 2021, it was before 2018, which is when I started like collectively writing down films I see throughout a year. So I've seen it once since then. So one time for the pod now, and then overall, like Jimmy Neutron stuff, I've seen the show, The Adventures of Jimmy Neutron. Don't know if definitely probably not in completion. There's probably a few episodes I have not seen. Planet Sheen, same thing. Few episodes I have not seen. I played a little bit of Jimmy Neutron Jet Fusion on the PS2, but I didn't own that. That was like a game I played at a friend's place. So, but what I did own was Attack of the Twonkies on the PS2, and I've beaten that probably like 4 times. I've also seen all 3 Jimmy Toomey Power Hours. I think I had some Jimmy Neutron Burger King toys or something. I think that's about it. Oh, it also counts. I also played Nicktoons Unite on the PS2 and Nicktoons Unite Volcano Island, I think. And I don't know if Jimmy was in that
Oh, I
one.
played that.
And Attack of the Toy Bots.
I
I know
also
Jimmy was in
painted
the first one.
Goddard once. I guess I forgot to add to my history.
Oh, painted Goddard. Ooh.
Goddard's got a cool design. I can see why Crimson would want to paint him.
Was it like a life-size Goddard?
No, it was a parody painting I did of dogs playing poker, but I did different cartoon dogs. Goddard was one of them.
Oh, yes, I know what art you're talking.
Yeah.
All right, with that, I will then go into facts that I have here. Its initial release date was December 21st, 2001. It has a runtime. What was listed was an hour and 30 minutes. And then budget of what I found. Audience, before I continue, just take these with a grain of salt. Found them on the internet. Who knows how true or false they may be. Budget I found was 30 million USD, where its box office it got domestically was 81 million, and worldwide 103 million USD. It has a rating of G, and its genre is sci-fi comedy animation. And it is directed by a Mr. John A. Davis, known for directing the Ant Bully movie as well as directing the Ant Bully video game. He also did the kind of goes into the fun facts section, but the animated shorts that were compiled for like season 1, episode quote unquote 0 of the Adventures of Jimmy Neutron, which compiled into this movie in a sense. He also has some writing credits that I just want to bring up. He was also credited to be a creative writer for all 3 Jimmy Toomey Power Hours.
All right. Ant Bully, real heavy hitter with that one.
Yeah, that seemed to be the one like other movie that I could find.
Ant Bully, is that the one where the kid gets turned into an ant after he was like taking out his being bullied on ants?
Yeah, he's bullying ants with like magnifying glasses and then shrinks down to their size, and then him and the ants like make an army to go against a fumigator.
That is
something like that. I think I saw it once.
I saw that once too. It's definitely sparking a memory.
And then I got a couple fun facts here. First one is it was intended as a television pilot for the TV show, but when Paramount executives were shown the early footage of the animation and the design plans for where it was going, they were so impressed that they decided to fund it for a theatrical release.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Visually stunning. 2001.
Not the word I would use.
Kevin Michael Richardson did the voice of King Goobot, but his voice was then re-recorded by Sir Patrick Stewart afterward, where some of his audio can be found in the trailers.
Oh, interesting.
That's funny.
Now I kind of want to see the trailer.
Yeah, I think Kevin Michael Richardson would do very well. I know him mostly from the 2004 Batman show where he played Joker, but he's done a lot of stuff. I think he may be the voice of Vilgax in Ben 10. I could be confused on that. But
I think he has a Ben 10 character voice. I don't remember which one.
Yeah. Next one I got here. This is the first Nickelodeon movie to be entirely animated in CGI. And then the last fact I have here, which seems to be the most impressive one for me. This is the first movie produced by Nickelodeon Movies to receive an Oscar Academy Award nomination.
A nomination for what? Best
for
sounds.
Best Animated Film of 2002 for the awards. It lost alongside with Monsters Inc. to Shrek.
Deservedly so.
I love that this was competing with those two.
It never stood a chance.
That fact blew my mind.
It got
That this was in the
nominated.
ballpark with Monsters Inc. and Shrek.
I just don't think there's that many animated movies that came out that year.
Those were the only 3 things in the category.
Wow.
At least that I saw.
And this came out before the TV show, right?
Yes. Yes. The show started
Which
in
I thought was
2002.
pretty cool.
This was 2001.
Yeah, I mean, that's not the first. That's not the first one I've seen, but I've definitely seen others that have done like start with the movie as the pilot and then have that lead into your show.
Yes,
I feel like I've seen a lot more.
they kind of did that with the 66 Batman, if I believe. They like domestically, I think, started with the show, but then the movie was also made, and the movie was the worldwide sent out kind of thing, I think.
Yeah, I mean, my go-to is always the Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Had a mini animated movie before the show picked up.
Yes. But those is that the one where the animation style was very different between the two?
No. Okay, so there were 2 animated movies that came out, like a part 1 and a part 2 for Attack of the Clones. That was in the early 2000s. So it'd be a couple. I think it was 2004, 2005ish. It'd been just around, or it'd been like a year before Revenge of the Sith. I think is when those came out.
Well, one
Okay.
was like a 2D animated one, right?
Yeah. I'm talking about the 2D animated ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, the CGI animated ones came out in 2008 or 2009, and then the show started in the year after.
Okie dokie.
Yeah, I've certainly seen more shows get movies later. Usually by the end of the show, as like a wrap up.
Yeah,
Like
like in the case of
Serenity.
Serenity and Firefly.
Or
Yeah.
Zack and Cody, Hannah Montana, a bunch of stuff that just gets a movie.
Yeah,
A lot of Disney Channel stuff.
yeah. I had the inverse experience because I was never into those shows, so my experience was usually I saw a movie that got me into a show, typically.
I was gonna say the Wizards of Waverly Place one kind of did it where it's like, here's the movie, we're done, and then it got revived, and then iCarly, here's a movie, it's done, revived.
iCarly, I go to Japan. Or
Did they also do it with Zoe 101?
They did it with
Don't
Teen
know on
Titans, Trouble in Tokyo.
Drake and Josh ended on the
True,
Christmas
but
movie.
with Trouble in Tokyo, they didn't come back for a revive unless you count the Fighting Teen Titans Go.
I don't. Okay. I mean, Teen Titans Go was made. I think I've talked about this before. Teen Titans Go was made originally to be supplemental content for the original show in between seasons in Japan.
Oh,
So sad how it didn't turn out that way.
no.
Yeah, they marketed it as its own show here, which unfortunately didn't help.
Yeah. Let's go into the coverage then of the movie Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius. Again, popcorn structure, so pop around wherever you'd like. You can keep it linear. You don't have to if you want. And let's start with Ryder.
Sure. I'll start things off a little light. That is not a joke. I think it was a good way to introduce the character doing something that only a quote unquote genius kid can do. As he's out flying F-18s, presumably, and trying to launch his own satellite made out of a toaster. Very, very gimmicky. Kind of sets the tone for the whole show. They're not really adhering to the laws of physics. They're not really adhering to the, protection from space. And it kind of gives you a bit of what Jimmy thinks of people who aren't as smart as him as well.
Yes.
Yeah. They do a good job establishing his genius level in air quotes. Because I'm sure we'll be able to poke and prod at moments where he's not so intelligent.
There's plenty of that.
Yeah. But yeah, the introduction of his rocket, his bubble gum, and then his lab a little later. Seeing all of his little mini projects.
By the way, the fact that the fact this doesn't adhere to physics or like basic things like that did take a massive subjective chunk out for me.
I kind of figured that could have happened.
Yeah, my big chunk of that goes with something else. Is just the air breathing
Yeah, the fact that they just breathe normally in space.
in space.
And also they could talk over the fucking breaking the sound barrier.
Yeah.
Little
It
it bugged me more than I thought it would.
what bugs me the most is that if they didn't show an interior of the jet, that the pilot
Yeah.
flying like those jets
Gotta move.
have the helmets to breathe.
Yeah.
If they just showed like that exterior, I think it would really help, but it really shows like, oh no, those pilots need to breathe, but kids don't.
Yeah. It was definitely a I might have a lot of world building issues with this one. That lends into some inconsistencies.
They do retroactively address it in the TV show. We obviously
They
can't apply it to the
do,
movie, but
yeah, can't
they,
adhere
they
it
do
here.
address it in the show, kind of,
Kind
in
of.
a funny way. Uh, but yeah, in isolation to just this movie, unexplained, and definitely an issue. I wouldn't say it bugs me, but personally, aesthetically, I would prefer seeing them like this and not in like astronaut outfits. But
Yeah. I
also, to
mean, the
some
easy
extent,
thing to do is just do like a quick
reality.
just do the fucking goofy bubble, over their head.
Or just Jimmy gives them all like a piece of gum and it's like, this will allow you to breathe in space.
Yeah, just do some pseudoscience stuff. I think it would have been
Yeah.
preferred.
What would have been
Um,
really bugging is if they got to a point where it's like, I don't know, like, that meteor shower, and Jimmy's like, all right, everyone, put on your helmets to, make sure you can still breathe.
I
Or
was
something. That
so
would have
worried
really
that was
irked
gonna
me.
happen when it started. I'm like, don't do this. Don't do this.
There's no organic life on this meteor that we're camping at, so we got to wear these to breathe. It's like, oh boy,
Yeah.
that would have been a lot worse.
I'm happy it's consistent with its style, I
Lack
guess.
of rules.
With its negligence? Or...
Yeah, I guess I prefer it to be consistent with its negligence than I prefer to be just. It's like, oh, just play like
Bouncing back and forth.
yeah. I didn't
Yeah,
really.
that would bug me.
Yeah, it didn't
if they did
smooth it
that.
over for me at all, but it was still like, okay.
Yeah. Let's go with Crimson.
Okay. Let's talk a bit about the sciences. One moment in particular for me, and that's Jimmy's
There's
I guess
sciences in
time
this?
machine microwave. I know. Where he puts in the clams with the grain of sand to create a pearl, and the microwave was set to 4 years. I'm like, oh, so what exactly does this microwave do? Is it actually fast forwarding objects in there through time? That's pretty cool. Kind of a big piece of technology right there.
I don't know if it's necessarily time travel. I took it more like the device in Guardians 3 that evolves animals.
I mean, it's just weird that it's phrased in years then instead of just fast forwarding production or whatever. Or
I
incubation
suppose.
or something.
I think if
It being
the
framed as a time thing, I think it would be the issue with that.
I think if
'Cause
the
the Guardians of the
oysters
Galaxy
showed
thing isn't
age
time.
and wear, that would help with the time thing for me.
Mr.
Because it really
Science
just
writer
shows.
died. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just saying it just shows the pearls being made. It doesn't show the oysters changing at all.
Yeah, but I don't. I knew at one point how pearls were made. I don't remember anymore.
It's funny because I almost looked it up after that scene, but I decided not to, mostly because the show is already taking so much liberty with science. I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna not because I feel like it would just make me angry.
Yeah, I know they grow in like a little pocket. They wouldn't actually be popped out and exposed in the clam. So I guess that's a difference.
It's also Jimmy put. I didn't count them, but Jimmy put what 7 oysters in the microwave, and then he has a whole necklace and earrings. So he just had to do it again.
It depends on the
I
shot,
mean, he
because
could have kept enough
there's definitely some scenes where he's carrying all the stuff, and scenes where it's just not on him at all.
Yeah, he got a bucket full of them, so I can believe he did another run through the microwave to get more
Yeah.
pearls. He did steal though.
Oh,
He
absolutely.
did, and I jotted that on my notes. I went, okay, that's thievery. And then when we got to his lab, I went, his parents didn't buy this for him. He did this to himself. How? And I went, oh, he steals. They show that he's a thief.
Yeah, he's a thief. Second question: is there law in this world?
We don't see any police.
Not in this movie,
Then it
but in
doesn't.
the
make
show
sense.
there is. But
But within this movie, there's not an issue with him thieving
Oh.
around, I guess.
no,
Oh,
he
I
just
mean,
goes out the
he
back
could
door
make-
and someone goes, hey. That's it.
I mean, he causes
can make
property
diamonds.
damage and it doesn't come back. So, I mean, beyond his house, he causes property damage beyond his house. His mom punishes him for his house.
He wrecks a lot of roofs on that landing.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear what the owners of Retroland are going to say when they get back to Earth.
Where's all the rides? Well, I think they get a free pass like the Avengers. It's like, all right, you saved everybody. You get something, and then the Sokovia Accords for the
Yeah.
kids. Yeah,
And then Michael Keaton comes in and goes, I'm going to take down this
cleans
Jimmy
up
kid."
everything. This is my contract.
I'll jump to I guess the some of the like continuity errors, like with Jimmy carrying all the stuff that he stole, kind of just disappears while he's walking to his lab, and then kind of reappears once he's done introducing us to some of his experiments. I'm glad the experiments come back in a way, like the female eating plant and the bubbly
Sugar
yeah, the bubbly the bubbly soda.
Yeah. The bourbon
So
soda.
I'm happy they do come back, but a lot of it comes across to me as just like window dressing to kind of make the character feel smarter, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah, just show off his inventional skills. If that's the right term. But I do wish the bubble travel thing came back. Because I feel like that would be good in the war or the fight. Or if they used it
Yeah.
and popped it to make goop, because it kind of looked like yellow goop when it was popped to like make a decoy.
I don't know about that one, but who
It'd
knows?
be
Maybe
interesting if
Sheen
it came
used
back.
to
I'll agree with
the
that.
ship.
But what'd you say?
Maybe Sheen used it to get the ship.
Maybe
Possibly? I don't know.
he teleported, but can't really.
Off-screen adventure. Who knows what?
He had to get another ship to get up to the ship docking area.
Well, they
think-
did come in their own ships, right? So.
Well,
Yeah, but they
probably
parked it out of
also worked
town.
one.
yeah, they parked it out of town.
I mean, regardless,
or-
it's quick.
yeah,
Whatever avenue they took. Unless there was a teleporter, but we didn't get that established.
Well, unless that pole kind of holding up the parking lot is like an elevator.
Well, they do have a tractor beam. Maybe they got a tractor beam elevator or something.
gravity lift like
Could
from
be.
Halo.
I'll still go. I'll go with the writer that he teleported.
Oh yeah, it's definitely obvious that he
It was
just
too fast.
yeah.
Let's see. I'll jump to something. It's an interesting detail for character design that I thought was interesting. Of those who have glasses, some of them have like detailed eyes, and others just have beady black pupils.
Mhm.
But it didn't like. It stood out, but it does work with the world. But I don't know what is the design choice to give those with glasses, because the beady eyes are only on those with glasses, I think, or maybe. Actually, no. The reporter for the news didn't have glasses. I think the girl, but she had the beady black
I
eyes.
had beady eyes.
Okay, so just the design choice to give some people these black beady eyes, but it didn't seem necessarily like off.
No, I agree. I mean, they might have just thought that looked better with the design of the character. I mean, they could have tried beady eye and detailed eye, and like, okay, beady eye seems to fit the costume that they're wearing or their outfits.
Like with
More visually
the
appealing or
teacher.
something.
I'm trying to bring a visual to my head because I know the teacher has
Oh,
different.
Miss
Yeah,
Fowl.
she's got
Yeah.
glasses and beady eyes.
Oh yeah, like the difference between
Carl's
Jimmy
got
and
glasses
Carl.
and beady eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there are some kids with glasses who don't have beady eyes.
Yeah. It just might be a cohesive look. It looks better, whichever one they ended up picking on.
Yeah, that sounds about right. They probably went with aesthetic.
Okay. Just an interesting character design.
I'll jump to a question for writer because Springs and I kind of touched on it on our own, and I'm actually curious. Okay. Were there any characters you ended up liking in this writer?
No.
Oh well, Springs, you were right.
No, I figured.
I tried. I mean, up front right now, I'm never watching this movie again.
No, you hinted
a
at the
10.
ratings and summaries here.
Oh yeah.
It's a
I definitely
10.
am. I did not enjoy this movie at all. There
No, I
was
figured all these characters are either going to be dumb and annoying to you, or you'll be like, okay, I can get around with this character, and then they do something that would break it for you. That's
Yeah.
how I envisioned you.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't like any character from the start. I like some of the arcs that they go on, quote unquote. I do like some of the very, very archetypal stuff that they do because it's very bare bones. But I do like some of the surface level like character arcs that they put people on. Like for example, Sheen's dad, we know where he gets his geekiness from, you know?
Yeah, I don't remember Sheen having parents in the show.
That sounds like the show's problem.
Yeah.
But when Sheen meets his dad and he's wearing the Ultraman hat, you get a distinct sense of, all right, you know, that fleshes out the character. I found that very sweet. There's stuff like that in here that I did enjoy. Not enough to sit through an hour and 20 minutes, though.
Yeah.
So, are they hinting that Hugh is not Jimmy's real father? Because all the other parents were just like the kids, or I guess the kids were just like their parents. But Hugh is nothing like Jimmy.
Ransom?
Ransom?
No, not that Hugh.
Oh,
Uh,
gosh.
I don't think so. I think it's just because Hugh has a lot more screen time as a character design than any other parent. So make him look different. They don't have to make him look identical.
Actually, thinking about it now, I think my favorite characters were actually Jimmy's parents.
Hey, okay, I was right on that one. But you still didn't like them. You're highest of the bottom.
Hugh Neutron is just a buffoon.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
He's
But
not
like
one of
for me, the parents are neutral. I didn't have strong feelings towards them, but they didn't fuck anything up. If that makes sense. Like for me to like a character, you have to do more than the basic of, oh, I'm just a good parent.
Yeah, one trait. There you go. You like them?
Yeah, so like, don't get me wrong, they're good. I think they are good parents. I do think they like, but there's nothing beyond like that really pulled me into liking them beyond the neutrality.
I don't know. I think the tucking Goddard into bed thinking it's Jimmy was their strongest scene.
I agree.
Of like actually caring.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, rather than just like, oh, you're grounded.
Well, that's the thing, right? There's a lot of support that goes into that scene. So speaking on the scene where they're tucking Goddard in and they think it's Jimmy, there is support in that. Like you can hear them, like when Jimmy's trying to sneak out, they're clearly talking about it because they're figuring out how best to, you know, what to do with their son, which is, as far as I'm concerned, is a very normal parenting thing to do when your child's asleep and you've had a bad day with them, to can be consulting the other parent and about what you guys should be doing makes total sense for me as far as that's concerned. So I didn't have any issues with the parent characters. I do think there is at least archetypes here. We have the goofy parent and the more strict one, and they kind of play off each other.
Yeah, but I just the scene really strengthened a bit to me when um, she doesn't have a first name, does she? Just Mrs. Neutron
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they said her name.
or
I just
Sugar
wrote her
Booger.
as mom on my notes. Yeah, Sugar.
Yeah, when she's like when Goddard like tucks the blanket up and she feels like wounded, like hurt, and looks back at Hugh, but they don't give Hugh a line to say, and they cut. Really, I think strengthens Hugh actually having care of the matter, knowing when not to make a joke.
Yeah. Like I said, he's a buffoon, but he's not like, you know, emotionally dissident. So like he's still emotionally cognizant of where the state of the room, like what the state of the room is.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, parents were probably, if I were to pick, are probably my favorite characters. Uh, I did enjoy the setup for Sydney and Jimmy Neutron as well. If we're on like character relationships, I don't know where they go in the show, if they go anywhere with that, but I did enjoy their bickering, and I could see that.
The episode to episode basis.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I enjoyed their bickering. I can see myself growing to enjoy that dynamic if they had more time to flourish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they did good with like the frenemies type
Yeah,
kind of
they know when to call it quits. It's not like constantly hating, constantly backing each
Bickering,
other up.
one
Yeah.
upping.
Yeah.
It to me it didn't necessarily, I guess, isn't fully a 180 because of the whole group's tone of feel in situations. But when Cindy goes to comfort Jimmy in the jail, it did seem a little like left field to me a
Ye-
little.
It was left field pacing wise. The issue is I couldn't find anything that would be to make it necessarily out of character for her because they've been working together all this time. I would have preferred some more like on-screen growth together, quote unquote, uh, in order for to make that feel less jarring.
Yeah. Do something where
Um,
like they team up a little and
yeah,
then like a little name call afterwards, but actually smiling because they helped each other in a situation to build to that scene, I think would have helped because
Mm.
everything else prior is just Jimmy failing something and Cindy laughing at him.
yeah, like maybe one of the things they could have done is he could have helped tweak something on her rocket, or she could have caught something on his. It'd have been something like that. I think would have been an easy fix. Just give them a more structured
Do it on the
interaction
meteor
between each
around the
other.
campfire.
Yeah.
That could have worked.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, they did exchange the like glance in space, talking about how beautiful. Um, I forgot what they.
Oh, a
Was it?
sun being sucked into a galaxy?
Yeah, whatever they were talking about. That they did share a moment there. Not to say that there was nothing leading up to that talk in the
Yeah,
cells.
I mean more something more action wise in the sense of like they're structurally physically helping each other,
Yeah.
not
I see
necessarily them
the
exchanging a glance, because I agree that
yeah.
it's there. That's what I'm saying. I think there is chemistry there for the two characters. It's just in such a constrained short of time, it feels like we're rushing through it.
Yeah, the pacing's very quick in this movie, but not even though like the meteor thing is like a dull breathing moment, I think it works. But this movie is relatively quick, I guess, just for its overall runtime. But I wouldn't say the pacing's atrocious.
No, I wouldn't put it down as a negative for it. The pacing.
No, this movie, I guess, could have benefited with an extra 15 minutes somewhere. But
I'm
if they
on
wanted a
I'm
more
on the
stronger
fence.
story,
Yeah, I'm on the fence of whether the pacing is bad or not. So I'm not with you guys yet. I'm kind of neutral on it. I'm in between it being a negative and a positive. But I think I admit I'm leaning negative because when I'm thinking about parts of the film that could be cut, I think the montage could be shortened of them partying without the parents. I think like the bubble ball scene catching up to the school Could probably do with some re-editing to kind of shorten it. I'm just thinking of stuff that I could cut to make. If I were to keep the same time length, I could put that time to better use. Um,
Well, I'm sure there's versions of this movie possibly that were aired on Nickelodeon that were cut to an hour television time length to fit into a
no,
what do they
that's
call it?
that's
Like sections of a TV thing.
maybe, yeah, but that's not my issue with it. It's just like I feel when it comes to pacing wise, I have to feel like I'm like wasting my time. And there are times where I think in this film that they are wasting time. They're holding on to they're showing off a cool visual. And I get that. But it's still you could fix that and so anyways, I'm more neutral on it. I'm not putting it down as a bad thing yet, but I'm probably going to be a little bit more critical of the pacing. It is very fast and rapid, but I do think they could have done a better job that more plainly than what they've done.
Okay. Detail I caught that happens 2 or 3 times, I think, throughout the movie, which was just an interesting detail to animate in. Is the first instance I found it was like a minute 25 when the jets take off from the military base. There's a sun glare off of a lens, which is animated in to make the visual look like it's being recorded on a camera.
Yeah, be
Interesting.
careful when assigning that stuff because they might have been trying to emulate stuff from other movies of jets flying. I mean, that doesn't necessarily ground it as a camera within universe looking up at the jets.
No, okay, yep. Another thing, I don't mean like an actual camera in universe. I'm just saying it's animated in a way where that lens flare isn't needed. Like they could have just had the jets animate off, kind of thing, but they put in the lens flare detail of it for a lens flare.
Then yes, I agree.
And it made me
Yeah,
question just for a moment if J.J. Abrams was responsible.
Well, it wasn't that much, but just an added in detail that I went, oh, okay, not it's not needed, but it is just a cool detail to add in.
yeah, good little element to add.
They definitely do. They definitely go for the visual a lot in this, or try to anyway.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it got nominated.
Yeah, and I do feel like they utilized animation in terms of camera work because it's not just stationary camera that there is more dynamic stuff. You get POV shots of like Goddard licking Jimmy and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some dynamic thought going into the film. It's not like crazy cool stuff, but it's not plain either.
Yeah. Let's go to Crimson for a
All right. Something that's always stuck with me and seeing it now still is probably some nostalgia glasses, but I just love the spaceships. All of them. The chicken ones, the roller coaster, the whole fair stuff. I think it's just cool. And I always like the Ferris wheel one because it feels weighty, and I know it's in space. It shouldn't feel weighty. It's the one time it shouldn't feel weighty, but whenever it's like turning and shifting, it feels grounded.
slower.
And then you got the cool fast roller coaster. And just it all looked very cool, and obviously the fire and space thing, blah blah blah, whatever. But
Uh,
we've already talked about how uncrowded they are.
yeah,
I can agree with half of that. I don't
With
think all of them look good. A lot of
well,
them
no, I
just look
mean
like,
some of
oh,
are
let's just put a rocket
jokey.
on a ride.
Like Carl, it's just a butterfly ride. Nothing really unique about it. But they don't all have to be crazy cool.
No,
But just the
not necessarily just
concept
a
of
cool
turning them
factor.
all into ships, it feels like Legos, kind of like you can just turn anything into a ship if you fly it around with your hand. It's like, ah, cool. Kind of a similar vibe.
I I see, but I just to me it didn't seem like the ships were necessarily changing a lot or all the amusement park rides were changing to fit. It was just kind of like let's just put an engine on it, just put a rocket on it.
Well, they only had two
Seemed to be the
days.
only change.
2 days to build all this, get the
Well, true, but
materials.
it would have been cool if they did like a joint one, like two ride vehicles put together design-wise to make something new to accommodate people or something.
Yeah, I don't need like a Borg fair ride ship. Even a writer might want that.
I mean, I thought it was a little. I mean, it works with like, oh, it's a roller coaster, but the roller coaster should have had controls.
So
Mm,
I haven't
what do
given
you
my
think?
2 cents yet. I think so this is very mixed for me. Shockingly enough, I very much enjoy the creativity and the idea of just like how all these can become ships, just because it's a kids movie. A child will have an easier time rationalizing a Ferris wheel being a spaceship than an adult will, just by virtue of believability and the breadth of their imagination. So it's very very childlike. I kind of enjoyed that aspect to it. Um, I don't have a strong opinion on it though. Like I don't outside of that, I don't necessarily see it all as super cool. Um, and that just might be because they're out in the open and there's nothing, they're breathing out in space. So that might be my subjective talking when it comes to that. Because at least with the chicken ships, they actually seem to be sealed inside of it.
They're actual ships.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I was gonna say. I think the chicken ships are cool. From the ones that come to Earth and then the one they escape the planet on, that looks like a little 6-piece egg carton.
Yeah, I do like
Chicken
what
ship.
you made a good example, Crimson, with the it feels like Legos being kind of smashed together for a ship, and I would have loved to see like an ugly like uh Ferris wheel combined with the a roller coaster kind of ship. It would have been funny to kind of see how they would like blend those together organically, because that would be interesting. But obviously that's not the film we got. So
And I do like how they showed them taking off. They were all very unique. Uh, and I wrote in my notes, I'm glad they didn't show them landing because that really would have questioned how they landed, like on the asteroid and stuff. They kind of just fade to black and then they're
Oh, you just use
can't
their
fight.
feet.
yeah, it'd be a rough landing.
Yes. And
Also,
I
that
don't know how they
landing of
took off because they didn't have the same launching gear that they took off with.
ooh, good point. One of those needed a mallet to set off its engine too.
Yeah, the Ferris wheel needed like a catapult launching arm. So some of them don't really make sense, which is why they didn't show them leaving the asteroid.
It is a little animation bug that I noticed that like Carl's landing gear being his legs, they made his legs twice as long.
They're not his legs.
Was that supposed to be his real legs? I didn't
Oh, I
think
those
those
were
were.
his legs.
No, I
No,
did
that's
not
just
think
his
those
land.
were his legs.
Those aren't his legs.
Oh,
I thought it was
No, that's
funny
just
that they looked like legs.
yeah. They're not Carl's legs. Um,
that solves that then.
I forgot what other thing I was going to say with the ships. Oh, well, we'll come back.
To me, the roller coaster one just constantly going up and to go back to yours, Crimson. The roller coaster going up and down. It'd be like, oh, it's a roller coaster just going down an invisible track, but it could have just been steady going straight. So I'm like, it feels like it's not being controlled by someone.
Well, it definitely is, and we see that through the meteor shower in space.
Yes,
that
that part I think was cool, like how it dodges
yeah.
meteors.
So someone's definitely controlling it. I guess the way it's linking could be its manner of propulsion. I guess. But also talking about that, do you guys recall how far away this alien planet is?
She
They
said
mentioned something about the Orion
300 light
clusters.
years.
What?
When Jimmy brings up the map for Goddard, doesn't he say like 300 light years or something? I didn't write it
Yes,
down.
it
That
was.
would be inaccurate with something that I wrote down. Is they mentioned that the ships went to the Orion cluster, which is closer to over 1,000 light years away.
It was. Darn it, I have it written somewhere. It was 300 light years or 300 million light years. It was one of those two, and I'm like,
Yeah.
darn
Well,
it,
okay. So the Orion star cluster.
3 million light years. That's what it is. 3 million light years.
Okay.
That's
Million,
pretty far.
Jesus.
Yeah. And so again, I tried to for my fun because they mentioned that they would be in the Orion star cluster. The Orion star cluster is only 1,200 light years away, thereabouts.
Well, yeah.
Not that, not that,
Overestimated
not that
that.
it's not that it helps it that much because they don't go travel at warp speed or anything, but
No wormhole talk. No, nothing. No shortcuts.
yeah.
No.
Just fly there.
For me, this
And
is just
Jimmy,
like, yeah. For me, this is definitely the film just throwing numbers at my face and expecting me to not know what they are.
yeah. And Jimmy just being like, "Oh, we'll leave by Friday." I'm like, "Okay, so even if it's Saturday currently, you're given a week's time to travel 3 million light years."
Well, Jimmy said it would take 2 days to get the supplies and then leave Friday. So they did it all
So
in
it could
2
be
days.
Tuesday. Yeah. Yeah, let's just go get plutonium because that's on every corner store.
Hey,
At
these
least
kids are
that's what a
smart.
doctor said
Okay,
in 1955.
they
I
can run society for a whole day. These kids are smart.
I
Yeah, run
can
society. Yeah, that was running society.
I can believe that Jimmy knows how to synthesize plutonium.
With the traits we
Sure.
got of him, yeah, I could believe Jimmy knows.
I don't think he had to steal for that, but it would be funny if he broke into a military facility and just like, I'm taking this by.
It's that kid again. Speaking about military, I'll jump to a little nitpick I found. At a minute 42, we see like the jets going after the bogey, and it's inside their cockpit, and we see the radar on their consoles, and the radar is the same one that's matching the one from inside the base of showing where the bogey is.
Reused asset.
It is reused, but it's the sake that Jimmy's on like the top right of the radar, and to the jet he's to their left.
Continuity
Yeah,
error.
So either yeah, that's a big error, or if you want to play it, Jimmy's cloaked and can't be picked up, and what they're identifying is a different bogey.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a reused asset shortcut.
Yeah, but it could just been
Continuity.
fixed. Just put the pilot the jet on the right.
They could, but this isn't a perfect movie by any stretch. So I could,
No,
yeah.
it's just
That's
one
what
of those
I'm
things
going
that they could have done a quick fix, but if they didn't want to animate a whole thing differently.
with. I mean, even big budget movies have continuity errors. I'm sure Lord of the Rings has some.
Probably.
So, and I could
Writer
definitely
just
mention Jimmy Neutron
writer
does.
just dry heaved a little because you compared this to Lord of the Rings, but okay.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, Jimmy Neutron mentioned the same Breath of Lord of the Rings. Man, someone's gonna die tonight.
Whoa.
Hopefully comfortably.
Let's go to writer for a point.
Sure. I as much as I okay. One of those genius Jimmy Neutron moments is well, I like that he has his like neutron vision. I'm just gonna
Brain
take
blast.
yeah. I'm just gonna take it from the is that what it's called? It's called a brain blast.
A brain
That's what they
blast.
call it. Yeah.
All right.
In the show, it's called a
It's like
brain
a Mayan
All right.
Miguel
Well,
mental blast.
since I haven't watched the show, I'm gonna call it the neutron vision then. Since just gonna
Okay.
take it from the what I've been calling it in the detective season. Um, I think it's pretty unique. Kind of like think Jimmy think, and then he kind of zoom into his brain. Um,
Yeah, you see
I
all the pieces he's trying to
yeah,
connect to
he's trying to
different
connect them all the dots. I don't think the way they connect is great, but I appreciate the attempt at making him like seem like a genius compared to everyone else around him.
Yeah, just like here's 3 things I remember.
Yeah,
tape soda to a
It's
toaster,
not
and
actually showing
boom,
like
you got a
blueprints in
thruster.
his head.
yeah.
No, but
It's
it's
like a
enough.
video
I mean,
game. It's just like here's your inventory. Go, put them together.
it's like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, the magic tool, right? I
I
mean,
was thinking a Resident
Well,
Evil crafting system, but that's just me.
it's more like Resident Evil. Mouse and tool is just like pick this one. Here's a hammer. It's not really crafting things together.
got the options.
But yeah, I pretty much after the Lightyear bit, I tuned out of like the sciencey stuff. I'm like, all right, none of this is gonna be accurate. I was really annoyed with the the soda can launching the toaster as a
Yeah,
satellite.
gravity.
Yeah, and then I realized, I don't think Jimmy knows what a satellite is, because that thing floats outside of the galaxy
In a record time.
in record time.
Yeah.
Voyager
It took
left our.
longer for the ships to get to Earth than the satellite to get to the ships.
It's true.
Wonder why the
Wow.
king was on a like scout mission, just out and about in space.
He
Oh, that's because
enjoys
they
it.
wanted to introduce the character.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean a story reason? I don't got one. Sorry.
Yeah.
I can. All right. I mean, this is really
Unless
writing.
they, like, hey, he's not a boss, he's a leader. Like he's
Yeah,
doing
like
the mission with them. That's cool.
yeah, like I said, if that's the angle they're going with, they would need to reinforce that as a trait.
Yeah, he's really hands on. Okay, but
I mean, he does get into his personal ship and chase after them at the end. He didn't have to do that. Could have just ordered
that's
all
also
the
true.
ships to do it.
But why wasn't he in that personal ship to start with, and he's just in a chicken ship?
I don't know. I'm not the king.
Yeah. Okay.
Something I've always liked about the film, kind of, I like the spaceships. I like the aliens. I think they're kind of cool. They're obviously very goofy because it's a kids film, but I like the idea of these like this egg civilization, and their god is a chicken. It's it's kind of a fun concept, I think. What
I
came
think they're
first,
just.
the chicken or the egg? And
Oh,
this, I guess, the chicken came first as
I
their
don't want to
god.
answer that question again.
So.
I I'm not convinced the chicken came first.
No,
Well,
They're breeding
they
their own
say they have a
chickens.
god, and they do have to hatch it. So either it puts itself in a shell, or their god continually dies and they get a new one.
I mean that's the angle I'd go because they've had sacrifices before. That's been established through like the news thing and stuff.
Yeah.
So, maybe the god dies and reincarnates, like a rebirth thing, or does
I'm
Oh, like a
curious about
phoenix.
this religion that they have. To be honest,
Yeah,
I
a phoenix
look it
seems
up.
smarter. Otherwise, why are they praising the god of a hatchling and not where it's coming from?
Yeah, we don't really. It comes down to we just don't know
well, like I
enough
said,
about
I
control.
there is a. It comes up in Star Trek a few times, but there is a way you can make a religious civilization where um they revere like they don't know what gave them the religious task, right? They're just given this task in order to like help they could not understand maybe their origin. They just know that they're for as long as their civilization has had this memory, they've been their job was more or less to raise the chicken, hatch the chicken, take care of the chicken. That's your god, and then obviously they just do that. That's like their religious task. They don't know necessarily. They don't need to have necessarily a big belief system beyond that tiny scope. I'm
Yeah, generationally passed down.
yeah,
Right.
kinda yeah. I obviously I'd prefer that to be in the film. That's just what I would guess it is from how loose it is that they revere a chicken that they're hatching.
Yeah. But Crimson, with your point, I do like the designs of the alien. I think it's cool that they're like all egg shaped, but they're like a goop life form with eye stalks in a mechanical body. I think the design is pretty cool.
And I like how they played with dispatching them. I guess because they go out in different ways. Kind of
I don't know
goofy.
exactly though how the mouth of them works because they do eat things through their mouths, but when Jimmy's in like the broken down one, you can control it from the inside. So I don't know like the depth of the mouth. That seemed off.
Yeah, I wouldn't know how that whole thing operates. I don't know when it's in goop form if it has like hands or something for inside the
I don't know
machine.
if it has hands
I don't.
because when they defeat the guard, he's just a puddle. But it does seem like they can pressure because Jimmy can control and fly the broken one. So I think the goop inside can like pressure points to move them, kind of thing.
Well, I mean, they're also kind of in a different form because when they're in the suits, they're smooth, but when they're outside, they're like all scrambly. They're bumpy. So there might be like a pressurized element inside the suit, which could allow them to constitute in a different form.
Could be. I also picked up a detail of the news reporter, kind of when the king's like, "Oh, I don't want to share the story, just watch the news," kind of thing. The male news reporter has like grayer eyes, so I think they grow facial hair on their eyelids.
I didn't notice that. That's interesting if that's the case. Someone got some moldy eggs.
Yeah, well, that's just an interesting detail to add to the alien race.
Hairy eyeballs. The line that like, we have human sacrifices with actual humans. I'm like, that's kind of funny. Doesn't
Do
really
they
make
just
sense
call
in
other
the
things
universe.
humans?
That's, I guess, doesn't really make
Well,
sense in the universe, but as a joke, I
yeah,
think that's
Jimmy's
funny.
also the alien who calls the aliens "you're an alien life form."
You're an
So,
alien life form. Yeah.
all right, smart kid. Yeah. A praise I'll give the movie that I think was actually really good is its transitions that it uses. It uses both audio and just normal, like different forms of fades and wipes. But one I picked up at like the 3 minute mark is when um, Hugh is downstairs playing with a toy from the cereal box, and he goes, "Jimmy, come down," and he goes, "Down, down, 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 down," says it 3 times, and it cuts to Jimmy in the rocket going up, and he says "up" 3 times. Like, oh, that's cute. That's nice.
Mhm. Yeah. I think the movie does a lot of elements decently.
What it doesn't do really is how come Carl can hold the toaster and it doesn't make a noise, but when a soda can goes off, it then emits Morse code.
I don't know how it works. I'm not Jimmy
That,
Neutron.
yeah, that I didn't understand. I think that was just putting in a sound effect because this movie does have a lot of cartoony sound effects to just stuff going on.
Mhm.
I agree. I think I'll jump to something I liked. I quite enjoy Goddard as far as a design. Like he eats just random junk and it spits it out as nuts and bolts.
Yeah, I just took it. I guess he just converts it in his stomach.
Yeah, I actually quite like that. So it'd be a way to get rid of junk and turn them into something more useful. Because Jimmy Neutron himself is constantly building stuff. So the dog just eating junk and printing out nuts and bolts as a result of that into something useful for him is actually, I think, a neat invention.
Yeah,
He's a
and it
recycler.
goes with a dog character design too. So
Yeah.
it's not just random like he spits it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, Goddard's pretty cool. Obviously, he is magic,
Oh,
but
absolutely.
well,
Yes, there's also a huge plot armor bit when he first plays dead, and we see how playing dead actually does do force blasts and impacts and leaves craters. So when he plays dead in front of Jimmy and Jimmy's untouched from shrapnel, I thought that was a little much.
Goddard controlled the shrapnel.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I was thinking he'd control the pieces like Iron Giant because it
Mm,
just comes back.
Yeah, he can
Yeah,
rebuild himself for sure. I don't think he can control the blast.
Maybe I don't know. But yeah, I mean the telescope, I guess, to look in the stadium, that massive monitor that just comes out of nowhere. Uh, I don't know how he fits that in there.
that's cartoon
It's a
or whatever the
TARDIS.
heck Spider Ham calls it. That
Yeah,
cartoon pocket thing.
that's the magical element to Goddard. Pretty much do anything
Yeah.
he wants.
Oh, I mean, they bungled one of the setups. I think for Goddard too is because we know Jimmy's working on another like cycle upgrade, and he uses it obviously at the climax of the film, but he has been given no time to.
To build it,
Yeah,
unless he built it in those 2 days when he's making rockets with everyone.
Well,
yeah,
didn't he say it was a version 2 prototype, the one
yeah,
he was drawing?
yeah.
So The one he used by the end was probably version 1.
No, it's version 2. It says it on the like the license plate.
Oh, I didn't catch that. I did catch Jimmy saying like, "Let's try it," so it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it says version 2 on the license plate of Goddard, but
Did it?
yeah.
Oh, it said like "Good Boy" or something.
Well, it's what after he transforms and they're about to speed off. You get the shot of the license plate, and you also get like a not necessarily a serial number, but it says something like version 2, I think.
It's actually a license plate number of 2 for Texas. Just double checked. Could indicate the version 2, but it just looks like the serial tags.
I would have an issue. I'm still gonna have an issue with it no matter what. So
yeah,
whether it's version 2 or version 1, I'm gonna have an issue. If it's version 1, great. The dialogue should have better implied that he's used it before or tested it before.
That's true. It's really implied this is a trial.
Yeah. Something breaks. I just gotta pick one.
Oh, also, much like magnetic bombs in Star Wars, Jimmy being able to just be falling out of a ship, like gravity, to land on Goddard.
What part are you talking about? Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah, he just jumps down a hole into open space.
Yeah. Ryan has to ruin everything. So
there is no zero gravity in this movie, unless you count like the cane at the end. That's about it.
Yeah. The only thing I could think of with that is it could be like a rail acceleration as to why he gets dropped out, but it makes no sense. I know the ships have at least that the ship that they're currently on has artificial gravity. I'm not sure though.
I don't know. I just find it dull when writers go, like, it's a movie, it's fine. It's like, no, give it a little more. You don't have to fully explain a whole scene about it, but
whenever I hear a creative say it's just this, it's fine. I'm like, all right, so you've given up. That's pretty much how I take it.
I mean, that's a spectrum, though. I mean, like Goddard with the giant screen, you could say, oh, that's them giving up because they didn't make it practical. Like, oh, it should have been an inflatable screen, therefore it could have fit in him. But no, it's this giant metal thing. So there's a spectrum of where you can just do, okay, we'll do it this way, even if it doesn't work.
Yeah, cartoons do have more than one line to cross, kind of thing. It's like there's a big squiggly gray area kind of thing for a cartoon.
Yeah,
but again, still with writer, it's still feasible that they do cross that end line kind of thing, where it's like, okay, you've got a line
at some point.
Yeah. I don't disagree with your assessment. It's a spectrum.
Much like Jimmy taking the thread off of Carl's shirt to use for the soda, and then Carl's shirt's fine.
Well,
it's that cartoon thing.
What you didn't know was that shirt's actually a Jimmy invention where it self-threads.
Oh man, did they explain that?
Like, no.
Yeah. Can't even do that thing where it's like, oh, it's in the cartoon later. I don't remember that ever being a thing.
I don't remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's just little details like that. Another one I found is a difference between what's shown on screen and a line said of Jimmy going to brush his teeth for the morning, and he says boot up the Gingivitis 2000, but then when he has the like VR over his eyes, it shows that it's called the Brush-O-Matic 2.1. So neither name matches.
I'm trying to think what reason that could be. I mean, the Brush-O-Matic could be one setting of it, right? That the whole device could be the gingivitis thing, but that mode is the brushing one or whatever.
Still doesn't
maybe,
work.
But he only uses one mode. If he went through like brush, floss, mouthwash, all on the one device, then sure.
Tongue cleanser.
But he just lasers his teeth and then moves on.
I don't know. You're probably right. It's just a Another continuity here.
Yeah.
Used to be,
Yeah.
To me, it was either just like write it in that it's Gingivitis 2000 to fit the line, or change the line to Brush-O-Matic to fit the animation, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean that could be a communication error between the writing and
Yeah,
the,
could have been in the
art.
script, but the animation team didn't have it.
I've
or the script changed or later and the animation was done already. So there's a lot of production stuff that could have resulted in that mishap.
question. Why does Jimmy have a hairdresser that stylizes his hair in different ways outside of his normal one?
That also spontaneously grows back hair from the mohawk.
Yeah, I had that too with the mohawk. I'm like, is Jimmy actually bald and everything's a
It
wig?
goes with cartoon.
Yeah, he might spice up the life. Maybe he's got like a date, or he's got like a dinner to attend, and he's got to look different.
I'm gonna ask another question. Why does he have a quote unquote girl's headdress on it? Hairstyle.
That I don't know.
Mom uses it.
Well, actually, in a later episode of the show, Jimmy and Cindy swap bodies at one point, so I couldn't answer. I don't know.
If his mom used it, cool. If she did, I think that would be shown. It would be nice to see the parents use some of Jimmy's inventions.
Yeah.
That
So
actually would be cool. Jimmy's very selfish. The whole house is full of his gadgets, and his parents don't get any.
I feel like he would have made something for his parents, like beyond just the pearls than the gifts. Like I think he actually would have made something to make their lives easier. It would make sense.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem like he has. Even with Hugh bringing up like the chimney's fallen over again, Jimmy hasn't done something to fix that.
He put a secret entrance in the fireplace.
Yeah, but that's at the base.
That's for him, not his parents.
I know.
You know what? I think that's a character nick for me.
I feel like in the show he does have stuff in the house, but
but this is in the show.
Yeah, I don't.
He sets the drapes on fire. That's what he does.
I feel like I don't need him to have it in this. I would need it by the end, though. Like in the epilogue, have one of the parents using something he invented. That's not a joke.
Oh, the burp soda.
That's not a joke.
The burp soda is a joke.
Yeah.
I mean, he had to put it out there for them because
I wish
not there.
I do wish his house and family was a little more like Meet the Robinsons, where there's all this technology and they'll work with the technology thing. Even though like Hugh can be real goofy with it, the mom can use stuff to here and there help kind of thing. But at least helping the family. It's not a secret. He's not hiding that he's a big brained and can do all this technology stuff.
I would have enjoyed it more. For me that's more into like the arc that the parents go on, because the parents are just trying to figure out how to nurture him first. They need to balance encouraging him and disciplining him, which I like. So I'm fine with them not having inventions, but I feel like Jimmy would have tried to make inventions for them anyway.
I agree.
Or fix the car so his mom didn't have to do it.
Yeah. Or a line of one of the parents saying, Jimmy, we don't know how to use those things.
Yeah. Something simple.
Yeah. So then it's like, oh yeah, Jimmy doesn't make it for them because they have no interest in it, kind of thing. But all that kind of gets played with that is like, we've told you not to play with rockets.
It's not a rocket. It's more of a jetpack thing.
Yeah. It's kind of the one, I guess, vein of that, but it's not them saying they don't want it. It's just for the safety of Jimmy. So, a weird detail I caught, originally at the beginning of the movie with the base saying it was like the Colorado tracking station. I thought they were in Colorado, but supposedly Retroville's in Texas, or it like fictionally put in Texas. So I did look it up a little, but when Jimmy's chasing after the bus in a residential zone and he's actually catching up to the bus until he stops moving, Jimmy's going upwards of 20 miles per hour in a residential zone from jogging.
With the bubble?
without the bubble before he uses it when he's just running next to the bus.
Oh yeah, because he teleports behind it. Oh
Yeah, that was also a weird angle. He's not behind the bus. He's like on the side of the bus by how close he is in frame when the bus goes by.
my
That was
issue with
weird.
that scene is that the parents don't offer to drive him because they clearly see the bus drive off without him.
And him run off, yeah. But I think you
just
knocked down the
reference.
chimney. Well deserved.
Well, it's not like they could do anything anyway. Their car is covered in bricks from the chimney.
That's true.
But I feel like they would have at least done something.
Also, Carl's been stuck in that tree all morning.
It's amazing he didn't die. But that's me applying real world logic.
It's established that characters don't get blood rushing to their heads. Is the rides in space? Those kids would have been dead.
I'm
ones that were
convinced they don't
swimming
have
all
blood.
the time.
To be honest with you,
We don't see any.
Could be.
We don't see any.
Crimson.
Yeah.
Oh, unless you have something you want to jump to.
Go ahead.
I was going to be though, being that you seem to be the resident dinosaur expert of the group. Is Cindy's show and tell accurate?
I'm knowledgeable, but not that knowledgeable. I'm going to assume Jimmy was correct about it, but I did not. I don't know on that one.
Basis of I understand is the theory that Sydney was presenting is an actual theory that's been floated around. I think Jimmy's is accurate about the bone, however. I'm just going to take that at face value because I can't really do anything with that.
I mean, most
Okay.
dinosaurs only have a few bones found of them. They're not actually complete
Yeah.
bones in quotations because they're not, but fossils, whatever.
Yeah. I know what you meant. But the fossilized bone that Jimmy pulls out, I just have to take that at face value for what the character says. And then with Sydney, I know that's what she presents is an actual theory that goes around in circles, but I don't know the legitimacy of it.
Okay. It was interesting for a character introduction of Cindy that she goes against Jimmy's words of Congress findings just to be on the opposite side of him.
Well, she views her as smart as him. I mean, she said she was the smartest until he was around. I mean,
True, and I can believe that.
Jealousy to it. I mean, she built her own spaceship like everybody else did.
Yeah, but if everyone's doing rocket science, everyone's as smart.
And
Even
if
Sheen was doing
everyone's
it.
super.
Yeah, no one is. Yeah, Sheen's doing his own. The fuel rods or whatever. Yeah, I can't believe we've gone this whole time without talking about the actual hero of the movie, Nick.
Oh, I thought you were going to say his mom. But
No.
Nick exists, you're right.
The alien fighter, the hero
Yeah,
we've
cool
all
kid.
been looking for. Yeah, the elite squad or whatever the heck they call them. Elite specialists, something. Combat
Something.
specialists.
What do you want to say about Nick?
That he's in the movie.
He exists. I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good topic.
Yeah, I want to acknowledge he's around. I think having him there for Cindy to bounce off of is good as well, to just layer more Cindy stuff in there with her and Jimmy. It was kind of hard for me to tell if she actually was interested in him or not, because after she had the glance in space with Jimmy, she rebounded to him in a "Are you jealous, Jimmy?" kind of way. I don't know. It's kind of.
I took it the opposite in that oh wait, what am I thinking about Jimmy? Let's think about Nick.
Yeah. Because yeah, pencil.
Yeah.
All right, I'll give it my actual take on Nick outside of the joke. I think Nick is some funny comedic relief, but he also is important for the plot. He pushes Jimmy and his friends to sneak out. He's one of the prime encouragers of that. So I do think there is there's some validity to him as like being in the film beyond just a joke, because he is brave until he sees a giant monstrous chicken. Like he is the one that wants to spearhead and wants to fight, and he's willing to do all that, which is I and I do
I
like that this
do like
show.
their approach for the movie is a cool kid kind of thing, opposed to the bully character.
Yeah, I was gonna say one of the things they did is they didn't really lean into their archetypes of the show. They didn't make him like a Jimmy's bully. They made him the cool kid who's just chill with everybody, which I actually quite enjoyed.
Yeah, and I like he wasn't just all bark because he did fight the guards and take them out.
Yeah,
He actually did have some competency with him until he fought a god and then he screamed like a little girl. I'm
Yeah.
yeah.
curious if
Fighting
the
God
voice
would do that.
actors
To be
were
honest, let's give some credit. It took God
yes.
to knock
I
Jimmy
don't
down,
blame him
knock
for
Nick
it.
down.
Yeah, I don't blame him for it. I'm curious if they changed the voice actors for the Scream though. Did you find that in
I don't
your
know.
fact finding?
I did
No.
not know.
I did not look for it, but I would not be surprised.
I don't know if it's a joke. It seems like a big stretch. This is me saying it's a stretch for a joke.
Whoa.
But does Miss Fowl's apple have an egg in it? Or not an egg. Does Miss Fowl's apple have a worm in it to reverse the situation that birds eat worms and this is a worm trying to eat a bird?
I don't feel like that's that big of a stretch. I mean, she does look like a bird, and her name's Miss Fowl, so they obviously kind of reference her being a bird. So
I'm just curious if
I
that's like a reverse joke played.
I don't know if it's like a joke, but more like a nod to something, like a layer to it.
Yeah.
The joke
Some.
is the post credit scene
Oh yeah.
that
Well.
writer didn't see? Question mark.
Oh.
Oh, what do you mean
I'm
with
guessing
Miss Fowl
writing
riding
should
on
have.
the back of the caterpillar?
Yeah.
No, you did
A
see.
worm.
I was more annoyed that she just had an apple with a worm in it and she was intending to eat it. I have no idea why it was there on her desk.
Mr.
Yeah,
Wiggins.
because she's a bird lady. Reminds me
Well,
of
she takes
someone
the
I
apple
had
from-
as a teacher in high school.
What class?
Was it history. Her name
Okay,
started with a C.
I know who you're talking about. Okay, yeah, I gotcha.
I don't want to name drop her, but
Oh, obviously, yeah. That's why I was like, what class? Okay, I know what you're talking about.
I don't.
Kind of.
yeah, I'll tell you later, writer. Don't
Yeah.
worry. Something that's an error is Jimmy
In this
scans
movie?
the town. Yeah, scans the town for adults, and there's no adult life forms. How come Miss Fowl didn't get picked up?
Well, also, how the heck is that even a scanner? I don't understand it.
I don't know. People above the age of something.
Well, I mean, it might be from mass. Like these humans are too big, therefore they're classified as adults. So maybe that's why she didn't get picked up.
Yeah. Also, no adult supposedly was at Retroland that night, and that made me question: how old was Ultra Lord, and how did he get abducted if he did?
You bring up a fair point that none of the kids saw adults getting abducted at the fair.
I'm like, okay, if no one saw any abduction, that means there was like no adults at the fair. Who's running the fair? But then we actually see Ultra Lord as an adult there, and he would have been abducted because there was none picked up on the scanner.
Is anybody with this kid? No, I didn't think about that, but that is a very good point to be
Yep.
made.
That's a problem.
Yeah, it didn't line up.
And what about all the adults that were abducted while driving? Well, where's all the car accidents?
It
Where's
was
all
like
the
a Thanos
houses
snap.
blowing up?
Where's all the plane crashes? It was only in this town.
It
But
could be because there weren't that many adults
yeah,
on the
what
ship.
what I'm leaning about is like Jimmy's not the only kid who didn't go to Retroland. Like all the kids in town weren't at Retroland. Some kids didn't go and were probably a sleeper in their room when the parents got abducted. That I can believe.
Anybody who's anybody will be there.
Yeah, but not everybody was there probably.
Not likely. No.
You know,
And then
given the
human
amount of
originated
abductions that we
God,
see, given the amount of abductions that we see does not correlate to the amount of parents that were saved.
no.
no. Unless there's like siblings. But
No, what I mean is like what we see in the town with all the alien ships like abducting people. Like they're abducting more people than there are parents.
oh, that's what
And if we were to believe that this is just kind of in this town, then where is the world's involvement? Why isn't there outside news going to this town? And like,
that's what Ryder brought up with
town
the
where all the parents go.
like law enforcement.
Oh, yeah, please.
Yeah,
But just like world intrigue on it.
yeah, like I said, I think the world building is a straight up mess. It's not really consistent with itself. Um, I, oh, what was it? Never mind. Keep going.
I was gonna say it's a little comforting that Jimmy's quote unquote Jarvis Vox in his lab is his mom's voice. That's a little comforting.
Oh
He
yeah,
does like his mom.
that is fair. I was annoyed when neither parent were noticed the fact they were using a shrinking device instead of the remote.
The mom's head shrinking,
Yeah.
changing her perspective and not having any difference to it. That's the most bothersome one to me.
Yeah, I agree. That's what really bugged the shit out of me. Like she would freak the fuck out. Even if it was even though it was instantly changed back, her whole life was different for a couple seconds.
It would have been noticeable.
Yeah. Also, why only her head?
No idea. That was another question I have.
Because
Well,
it showed it hitting Miss Fowl and it changed her whole body, her whole size.
Same with Jimmy at the end.
Shrink something upstairs, and he's like, "See,
But
it
with Jimmy
did
at the end,
work."
it was also Goddard.
Yeah, but upstairs before he dropped it, he did use it and saw that it worked. So it was probably calibrated to that size, which would have been the size of her head.
I don't know about that.
I'm
Like it did shrink the thing, and it shrunk it, which is fine. So her head didn't grow, but I still don't know why it would stop at her neck and not shrink her entirety.
I think it just might be set to a size thing because it. I mean, the one he uses on himself is planet sized, so that I mean, this could have been basketball sized. I don't know. It's based off of the size of something else.
Okay. To me, that feels like a stretch.
I think so.
I'm sure
He
there's
doesn't
more
have a metric.
calibrations. Yeah, I'm sure there's more calibrations in it for like distinct, like this grows, this shrinks, what have you. But what's shown is just kind of different sizes of things like ant, your basketball thing, planet. It just seems like the size of an individual thing can change.
Hard to say.
So
We don't really get hard rules on the shrink ray.
yeah, that's why I went with like when he touches at the end when he goes planet size and he puts it to his head. I guess he's seated and touching Goddard, so Goddard grows with him. But that did also feel like two separate entities kind of thing. Because that could play into like, yeah, the Miss Fowl one works I think the best because she kind of like when she shrinks she jumps, so she's not touching anything when she's shrinking.
Well, she's touching the floor.
Yeah, but when it hits her, she kind of jumps up and then starts shrinking.
Well, I mean,
So
the
it gives it
benefit
like a
of
split
her
second. But
is she got affected with it being broken, so she could be the outlier problem eventually.
possibly. Another thing with Jimmy's inventions that I found weird: what changes the jetpack from like a hover to flight mode?
There's a chip in his brain that allows it to do what he wants to happen.
All right, got it. Cool.
I don't know what you want me to say. We don't get an answer for it, so.
No, I'm just saying he can just control it, but then when he's in the house, he can't.
I don't know.
Yeah,
We
I
don't
do
really have
like
many hard rules to his inventions.
I do like the difference that Jimmy would know the difference between jets and rockets. That comes up in his argument with his mom. Uh, I like that they at least make a distinguishment between the two because they are different. One obviously uses rocket fuel, and one oxidizes the air around it.
No, looks like you're a genius.
I mean, like his female eating plant doesn't have eyeballs, so how can it tell? And if you're like, oh well, it tracks pheromones of females and males, like okay, well it's off a photograph,
It's off a
so it
photograph.
had to
Yeah.
look at the photograph. We don't see Jimmy dipping it in like pheromones or something. So that his inventions work because it's a cartoon. That's kind of
Yeah.
what it comes down to. Love it or
Is
hate it.
creating biological life an invention?
You can patent that stuff.
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
If
Because I
you're,
never really
yeah,
pieced that together, but
yeah, it's a thing. It's not as commonly referred to as invention, but it would fall under that. Like you can invent, for example, this is actually real. You can invent rice plants that are better suited for high carbon environments. It's one of the things that we've done to try and better deal
Right.
with global warming and stuff like that. Um, but yeah,
okay. I still I'm leaning to this next point I have as a nitpick kind of thing. Just being how genius Jimmy is and having inventions all throughout his house and like what he has on himself or anything. When the alert goes off on his computer in his lab that there's like a signal picked up from the alien life form, it's only on one device.
like he doesn't get a notification. You mean?
Like it's not going off in his room. Goddard's not picking it up. He doesn't have something on himself to pick it up.
No, I
It's
agree.
just on his computer.
Yep. Lucky.
And I'm like, I don't think that necessarily fits a boy genius for having all these things.
I agree.
Especially Goddard. I feel like Goddard would pick it up.
Well, if we're talking about stupid Jimmy moments, how about to me, the dumbest is the comparing his parents' handwritten notes to a typed out letter.
Yeah, that was dumb.
that was
He could
hilariously
pick up
bad.
his ink.
I might have cracked up laughing with that one.
So bad.
It doesn't match any of their handwriting.
Who would have guessed the typed letter doesn't match handwriting?
Yeah, what about comparing it to everyone else who got the same letter that everyone's going to Florida and being like, oh wow, these are all carbon copies.
Yeah, and then the him or her, whatever I forgot what the son or daughter.
Yeah, son or
Whatever
daughter.
it was.
They just had a very, very base genetically.
Nondescript thing. Really dumbed down not just Jimmy but all the kids. Really, if they all noticed the parents have gone to Florida without saying goodbye.
And then Jimmy not checking Florida like radar scans or anything. Not being like, oh, let me just see if they're there.
But the fact that Jimmy did no investigation whatsoever into this, other than they left without saying goodbye.
And
Oh,
no
well.
parents are wish worked. I'm a man of science and wishing works. Wow.
He never really acknowledges it, right? It's just Carl that talks about the wishes thing.
Yeah. But Jimmy's still the one who made the wish. Carl didn't.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Jimmy was actually thinking it would mean something.
No, but the fact that it turned out to be something. But he didn't piece that together.
So I think that to me is the biggest hidden Jimmy on his intelligence, at least, is the
Typewriter.
notes.
That was the blatant one. I think there's a few other things he could have done that would have better prepared the children to go out on a 3 million light year space hunt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dedicated to get his parents back.
Yeah.
I mean, his original plan was just him, Carl, and Goddard versus an entire civilization. Carl even pointed it out. That's the plan.
Crimson?
Well, yeah.
Crimson, I'm sure the writers would have found a way to make that work.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure they would have.
If they had an actual plan, I agree.
Oh well. What? Just a question to the two of you. What defines a sip?
Like of a
Like if
drink.
someone is to, yeah, if someone's to take a sip, what does that mean?
Like, what's a dash of salt? I mean, or a pinch of salt. It's
That's going to
kind of
vary based off the individual, I think. I think
yeah.
the most common use of a sip is like you're tasting it, so you just take a little bit of the surface. Like you don't tip the glass at all. You just sip at
You
it.
don't fill your mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when you
enough to
say a
coat your
sip
tongue.
is okay, yeah, to get the flavor profile of it. I also think a sip is one swallow.
Yes, you're not gonna have a double swallow sip.
Okay. This brings up Jimmy saying what his burping soda is and says guaranteed burp on one sip, like with every sip. He swallows 3 times and burps once. Goddard licks twice and burps, but I feel like his is simulated because he's a robot. And then the mom takes one sip at the end and continually burps.
Well, yeah, I'm fine with the mom going continuously because one is guaranteed. That implies you can have more than one. But Jimmy doing one across several, that kind of goes against the tagline.
Yeah, I just want this soda isn't consistent with what's being told of what it is.
Well, to how it reacts to the host, I guess. But if he's saying it's guaranteed per sip, him not doing that each sip is a problem.
Yeah.
But the
Unless a
mom
sip
having
in the
multiple,
world is 3 swallows.
doesn't matter to me because he just said guaranteed one, which means it could have more. But that so fine with that. Not fine with Jimmy not
Okay.
having enough groups.
Okay. That's why I was asking because it could go the other way if it's like, oh, if a sip to Jimmy is 3 swallows and that's one, then when the mom only did one and burped, then that would match up. So either way, kind of thing.
It's like Sip's got a good understanding that it's not a lot. It's not defined on how much a sip is, but it's on a lower end type
Yeah,
deal.
if
It's
you
not
gave
gulp.
someone a can of soda and they give it back and it was half empty, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I just had a sip," that's clear. That's not a sip, bud.
You gulped it.
Absolutely not.
Gulped it.
I've done it as
Yeah.
jokes before, but not with the
Yeah,
intention.
I've done that. I know someone in my life who's done that. They're like, "Oh,
That's
thanks
like
for the sip," and I go, "That's not a sip."
it's like giving somebody a piece of food. It's like, okay, you can have a bite, and then they try to shove it all in their mouth. Like, okay,
Yeah.
A little
uh,
bit of that.
socially unaccepted bite. Yeah.
Let's jump to writer. I don't think you've given one in a bit.
Yeah, sure. I'll do another probably error visually. The kid with 1,000 like ice creams on top of his cone was walking away from the ice cream shop, and the ice cream didn't fall over the second he hit the door.
It went
Yeah,
through
I
the
don't know how he
building.
got it outside.
Yeah, he
He
clipped.
wasn't also the only one.
He clipped outside. Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing more to say on that. That's what had to have happened.
Yeah. I've got a. What did you guys think of the music in this movie? I thought it was a little oversaturated.
Very
I have
2000s.
nostalgia glasses. I really like it, but that's nostalgia.
Yeah, I think this goes with the early 2000s Scooby Doo things. Like it fits to the movie of the
I
time.
can't picture this movie without this music.
Well, that's the thing,
Crimson,
right?
did you ever
That
see?
insane.
You ever see the Jesse McCarthy music video of him in the museum going into like the pitch white room for the movie?
No.
Okay, I think that was probably on the DVD copy of the movie.
Okay. Well, I'm taking a firm stance. Music was too much. I think there were 2 songs that I personally liked. I found maybe half of them were appropriate. The other half could be done away with.
Like Kids in America, other than a
Iconic.
scene, and I think in Riverdale season 1, maybe this is where I identified the song too.
Oh yeah.
This is my first time hearing it here, so I identified it more with Riverdale, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Whoa.
But yeah,
Yeah,
that's one of the
but-
songs I actually thought was appropriately used. I didn't have any issues with that one.
Yeah, but like Jimmy going around getting the oysters on his jetpack, like I don't even know the song of that. The name of that. What is it? I'm a Kid Baby or something.
Something.
It was a
But I
song.
felt like it fit.
Yeah. We touched earlier on the ship designs, but I think something to add to the chicken ship designs that I also liked was the sound effects of the noises they had, of like when their doors open, it's like a cluck, or when they jump to hyperspace.
The loud chicken yell.
Yeah, like the chicken clucking electronical sound effect that goes with the ship. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I agree.
Crimson, let's go to you.
All right. So the king sent a kill order on those Earth brats, as he said. At which point I'm like, oh man, they were really holding back then, using these spears as spears and not projectile weapons.
Yeah, using as every advanced civilization must, they use spears like Wakanda.
I was like,
Yeah.
that's what I was gonna say. Wakanda. Oh, freaking Wakanda.
Oh man, I didn't know the king had the Dor Milaje fighting these kids.
Oh, what's the line?
They got jurisdiction, Crimson.
Yeah, jurisdiction.
They got jurisdiction
Dor
wherever they
Milaje,
want.
wherever they are.
What are you guys talking about?
Wherever
That's
you find
such a well-regarded show. I don't know why
Yeah.
you're taking the piss out of
Yeah.
it.
It's no problem. Captain America said it. Not in America. No jurisdiction.
Gosh.
God.
Yeah, it's a.
Anywho, Crimson, please continue.
Don't worry,
sorry.
we all hate that show, audience. I was joking.
So yeah, just obviously the spear thing. I understand. I like that they explained why they just locked them up instead of killing them or using them as sacrifices. He's like, all right, let's wait for them to grow up before sacrificing them. So like, okay, there's a reason to not doing them as sacrifices right now. They're not big enough.
What annoyed me is they didn't search them for phones.
Oh, that kid that went through 3 million light years to get there.
Very
Ryder, they don't know
kid-like.
what phones are. I said they don't know what phones are. I don't know what they would be looking for. Probably confiscate anything off of them, but
I mean, they seem to know what Earth stuff is.
yeah, but
It's
Oobleck
like-
didn't know what
it's
toast
toast.
was.
No, but the king did.
But Oobleck is not portrayed to be the brightest in the bunch.
No.
I did actually really like the exchange of the nuclear blast. All right, this will now detonate a 50 megaton range and it chases Oobleck off. I actually really enjoy that scene.
That's not good.
Yeah, I really like that whole scene. I just like Oobleck would have set an alarm or have come back after the timer was up.
Yeah. That's true.
He's just that
He
incompetent.
should have said.
Yeah, like I said, I can buy most of the rest of that scene. It was pretty funny, pretty goofy, but it was very much in the theme of it being a kids film, but it works. I do feel like that Goober would have set an alarm off. Goober.
Yeah.
He's a goofy goober. No, I think good sign of Jimmy intelligence. I think that was actually a good plan. Whether or not the phone would work, couldn't tell you.
If it's not going off of signal towers, it something else just connected to Goddard, maybe.
It'd have to be like a Bluetooth type thing, and they didn't have that yet.
Or Goddard's his own signal tower.
Could be.
Yeah, I
If
have
Goddard's his own power base of it, then
yeah, I have
sure.
the same issue. I think it can work with a Goddard on Goddard's end. Everything is fine. I have no idea how the cell phone works to begin with.
Her coverage didn't cover past the solar system.
Libby's got to upgrade.
Yeah, I mean, all you have to do is take a sonic screwdriver to the phone. We've learned that from Doctor Who.
We did.
Yeah.
We did learn that.
Alright, you brought it up earlier. Doctor Who wasn't really referenced, but Star Trek is referenced in this movie.
That is true, and it has Jean-Luc Picard as the villain, which is funny.
Okay, that's true. That's not the reference I was going for, but
I know.
Jimmy just doing the Vulcan salute.
Greetings, Earthlings. Yeah.
I did like it as a little joke. I don't know if it's in character for Jimmy to swap and make a mistake but I get the joke of it, of when he puts up his photo of mom and dad to show in his video, he doesn't point at who he says. He swaps mom and dad.
I mean,
Um,
Jimmy screws
Um,
up all the time in
yeah, I
this.
go, good joke, but Jimmy wouldn't do this.
I suppose so. I mean, he probably would have recorded this more than one time. I would
Yeah,
guess.
if he's making something for life form to be accurate to his planet, I don't think he'd make a mistake.
Probably not.
So just I guess a little nitpick on that one. Let's go back to writer for a point, if you got one.
oh right. Uh, I like how everyone we talked a little bit about them reminiscing on the asteroid after the asteroid bucked on the small moon. Or I quite like, I guess, the small character admissions of what everybody misses about their parents. It's
Yeah,
it
as I brought up earlier, a good breather.
yeah, it's a good breather. It makes the stakes feel a little more tangible than the absurdity that we've been kind of dealing with as an audience. I mean absurdity not as an insult, but as a just generalization of what we've been witnessing.
Yeah. Do you think Nick's story of what he was telling around the campfire was like a spoof of Blair Witch?
I
Um,
thought of that. I'm like, huh, that sounds a little bit like Blair Witch. I didn't really um like commit to that being a spoof of Blair Witch though. I just thought that would be funny if it
Okay.
was.
the fact he specified female photographer or whatever, filmmaker,
Yeah,
that kind of
filmmaker,
does make me lean towards
and
maybe it
he
was.
said nosebleed, and I'm like, is that just because like it was really close to her nose? But when he said there was like wooden figures in the tree, something along those lines, and I went, oh, okay, that sounds really Blair Witch now.
Definitely there. uh,
It wasn't a transitional usage. I don't think it was just in the line of it, and I thought it was also just a nice little like tongue-in-cheek joke of when Jimmy's sneaking out and he's on the stairs and he's small, and Hugh's looking at the TV and he just like um, comforts the mom, just saying like, Jimmy's a big boy now, like calm him down, and Jimmy's small in the scene. I thought that was pretty funny.
yeah, I was.
Yeah,
I admit that's funny. Yeah, I agree. I was for me the meat of the scene. I guess was just the parents like figure out how to parent. I always appreciate those scenes. It's a very easy way to
Yeah,
get me on a subjective positive.
but other than the mom's head being small and not noticing it, I think that was pretty decent scene of humor and character context. And
well, yeah, it said like I'm sure Jimmy's thinking in a mature manner or something along those lines, and then he's like pouting.
mom says you grounded.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a couple funny tiny juxtapositions like that. What I do like is that Goddard actually gives Jimmy solid advice, and then Jimmy is not mature, or he's not mature, so he ignores it. Like the whole apologize to your
Next,
parents, they love you.
yeah, make Goddard female poodle.
Goddard never got that in this movie.
It turns out parents don't understand psychology.
That one that might have earned a small chuckle. I enjoyed that. Got to do better at buttering up your parents.
Yeah.
And also credit to the mom for turning down pearls and diamonds to be a
Yeah.
good mother.
Well, Jimmy did say happy birthday, and it's not her birthday, so it's that kind of already red flag of Jimmy not paying attention.
Yeah, but
Well,
it's still
you
credit
take
to
that as
her of
he actually
like
thought it was her birthday.
One more time, Crimson.
Did you actually take that as he thought it was her birthday? I don't
Not
think it was at
fully.
all. That was his like layup to his whole planned speech he had.
Yes, I don't think he believed it was her birthday, but it was him trying to like please her with what he could think of, and I just thought he could do it better.
Okay, As long as you didn't think it was actually him getting her birthday wrong.
No, it doesn't act like that afterwards and anything with that regard. But he could have just been like, "Oh, just because I care about you," kind of thing. Or
As a first-time viewer, I thought that I did think he was her birthday thing, but I obviously came around to like, okay, I think he just did that as an opener, like a joke. My issue with the scene was the mom responding to it and saying, "But it's not my birthday."
you could do the same joke saying like "Happy Mother's Day."
But it's not Mother's Day.
Yeah,
It would feel
just like messing up a date.
Yeah.
I don't really have an issue with it.
It's like I said, I don't really. It doesn't break the film or anything for me. Plenty of other things that do that. There's but yeah, I do enjoy the. I guess I think the mom is a good mother, so I think the being able to turn that down, knowing that her son needs to be disciplined because he's playing with rockets, crashing into people's houses, and launching himself into space. I think that would warrant some punishment.
I like her trying to find reasons for him not to do some stuff. Like, I sent out a satellite to communicate with aliens. Like, you're not supposed to talk to strangers. Which comes back later.
It's true. That one does
nice
come
little
back.
callback.
The whole gang's like, didn't your parents ever teach you not to talk to strangers?
Yeah.
Well, that kind of goes into the blame game. Just it's all Jimmy's fault.
It is.
It is.
Did either of you pick up how many eggs are in Jimmy's fridge?
It was like 5 cartons stacked on each other or something. It was a lot.
I did count them. I paused and counted. There's at least 42 eggs just in the fridge.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot. I noticed it. It was like a third of the fridge was filled with eggs.
Yeah, I don't know if this is one of those jokes where it's like, oh, it shows that they eat a ton of eggs, so eggs kidnap them, kind of thing. But I'm like, that is an absurd amount.
No, I'm sure it's probably some sort of reference.
I guess I'm weird. We have a box of 50 eggs at any given time in this house.
50 in your fridge?
Yeah.
Well, Spring
Alright,
looks like it's not out of the norm.
I guess I'm the odd. I guess I'm an odd one out.
Gosh, it's just like a carton of 12. I thought that was the standard.
You go through them that quickly?
I mean, I eat eggs after my workout. That's part of my go-to post-workout meals. So yes, we go through eggs pretty quickly. I go through about 6 eggs a week myself, but including the rest of the house, that can be up to like, if they decide to make eggs that week, that's an additional like 20.
Good golly, in this economy?
I mean, there's 7 of us, so
yeah.
Oh, there you go. But Spriggs, I noticed it as well.
Hey, audience, let us know down in the comments how many eggs are in your fridge.
1 dozen.
Yeah,
Actually, I guess
curious.
2 dozen in mine, but...
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I didn't realize it was that odd.
Oh, I just went like, wow, one shelf of their fridge is just eggs. That's it. So I'm like, there's some kind of visual joke going on here.
Yeah, same. There is an entire shelf dedicated to eggs in our fridge.
Wow. I didn't realize you're a big Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius fan.
I'm not. Sorry. I got a question. I got
an answer.
Yeah, why is Hugh not mind controlled when they first encounter him?
I wish I could. He heard his son's voice.
Don't have an answer.
That's all I got.
Yeah, but the mom's right next to him. She didn't react.
He was too far away.
I don't know.
He was too dumb to be controlled. I don't know.
That could go into it.
But then he is controlled like immediately afterwards.
Well, once he tried to take it off, it's like a failsafe act.
He was just going along with it as if it was some weird dream, which is funny as an excuse.
So my answer, he was too dumb to be controlled.
All right,
like the inverse of the Force telling people to do stuff. It only controls dumb people. Meanwhile, these can't control dumb people. I don't know.
I guess that's the best because the mom was right next to Hugh and she didn't react.
Yeah, I
to
mean,
Hugh's
any of the
comment.
kids could have called out to their parents. And he's the only one that does, which
Yeah.
is which in of itself is already weird. But
Well, they
That's
didn't
I,
want
okay
to
for like a
alert.
trial thing to like see if it works.
Well, it was
But
lucky his dad was right there, because they wouldn't have yelled to the other parents because there were guards around. So
yeah, it would have had to be any parents next to a pillar in the back, which were a few.
thankfully, that one
But I
was.
guess, yeah, I guess with Crimson's point, he's just too dumb to be brain controlled.
Let's see. I'll talk about, because like kids' movies and shows typically have some sort of messaging going on, like a lesson or something. And I this one with like, at least my takeaway with it is like respecting your parents and stuff.
Don't
I
talk to
I think
strangers.
that's one. I think they do a really good job in this with the messaging, because we've talked in other stuff about how some messaging can be overbearing in a movie or a show, but I don't think. I mean, this one's very upfront, but I don't think it's been done in a poor way. If that
I
makes
think I agree with that because I think again the biggest thing for me was that it was the film was going through the motions to show you as well the parent perspective, like to know that the parents are always going to be trying the best for you, which is very sweet. And that kind of feeds into the message a little bit. So try to respect them because they are trying theoretically working hard for you. Not saying that works for every family, obviously, but
well, yeah.
as a broad speaking as far as a broad stroke is concerned, in terms of lessons, I think it's a pretty universal one.
And it shows the importance of parents in a general sense as well. Like when they're all gone and we have the whole montage of kids doing whatever the heck kids want to do, running up the down escalator,
And they're all hung
trying
over
on
the next day
fast
from a sugar
clothes,
high.
and
Yeah.
the next day they're like, I don't know how to make my sandwiches. uh, it's all falling apart. So I think they did a good job with that.
Yeah. I did note that with the water in the shower hitting the back of Sheen when he's peeing in the shower, and how
Dripping.
it's angled at where it is, he's peeing on his feet. He's not aiming towards a drain.
That is a Sheen thing to do.
I just something I caught. I'm like, because of how it's angled, he's peeing on himself.
He could be peeing on like the side walls of the tub, not directly
But
like in
but
front
the
of him.
pee still has to go to the drain, which is to his feet.
Well, I mean, it'd be skirting around. It's really how close he's peeing to his feet, right? We're getting into the analytics here.
Crimson, whether 1% or 100%, they're still peeing on his feet.
Okay, I'll accept that that he could have 1% pee on him.
Yeah,
At
I'm not
least.
saying he's aiming the hose onto his toes, but
Well, I'm just saying, if he's standing facing a wall, and you got the walls of the tub on the left and right side of him, he
yeah,
could turn the hose to point one of those directions and
he
hit the
could. But
wall.
there's still splashback.
Well, he's got a leaky faucet. There's not much force. I don't know.
All right, I'm done talking about this conversation now.
You sure? Nah, you keep going. I'll jump to oh, I'll jump to the throne room. Um, with the whole Uno reverse, we're an advanced civilization. Of course, we could detect your ships in orbit or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, I'm glad to know that in an advanced civilization, we're still going to be dealing with commercials.
Yeah, that was
That
funny.
was a bit of funny. I appreciated that. One of the jokes
Should
that
have been more.
landed.
Like Ready Player One. That's the future. More commercials, not less.
Probably.
No comment. We're not talking about that movie right now.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm a bit passionate towards that movie. I want to be careful about anything I say about it.
I mean, you can say yes, they did have a lot of ads in that movie.
There were ads in that movie, yes.
filled up like 90% of your screen or whatever it was. I don't remember.
Well, IOI
I said a
directed Nolan.
percentage.
Yeah, 80% of your screen before inducing seizures, but that's what Nolan Sorrento said about the IOI pitch he made at the board meeting. And
Even more if we're gonna call Easter eggs in that advertisement.
well, I guess anything.
Yes.
I
The
mean,
side of screen
I mean, we see
that-
Overwatch characters when Overwatch was at its height, so.
It's true. So,
On to Jimmy Neutron. Boy genius.
There is a film called Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius.
okay, good segue.
Yeah.
I touched on a transition earlier. Another one I do like is the after making the wish at like 3413 timestamp. It goes of all their fists in the air and going through the night sky, and the night sky turns into Jimmy's like bedspread. I thought that was a good one.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. When you brought up the whole transitions earlier, agreed.
I guess I'll go with another one. Goddard shows Jimmy a recording of the last night of his parents saying goodnight to him, where Jimmy like goes like, "Oh, they said see you in the morning. Why would they say that?" Is that just to go with like Jimmy has other cameras in his room for that recording to be at that angle because
knew you were
Goddard
gonna bring
wasn't
that up.
facing them?
I had that written too, and that is kind of what I had. Is probably had another camera in the room that Goddard could tap into,
Okay.
because we don't see him with like a camera wrapped around the bed sheet pointed at the door or anything.
No.
So
And our
that would be
perspective of the
my-
night before when Goddard's in bed is kind of showing from that camera, not exactly the right angle, but from that direction, so we don't see that corner of the room at the point to see a camera.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my best guess, is that there's something else in the room to record.
that would be the way I would approach it.
Yeah, I would have assumed that as well. I also like again Goddard replaying the message for Jimmy, both as encouragement. It's in kind of doesn't necessarily shame him, but it teaches Jimmy an important lesson. And we also get some more added bits that we didn't see in the original scene at the end of it, which I also liked.
Yeah.
We get to feel the impact with Jimmy rather than getting to anticipate it, which is I appreciate the choice.
I agree. Crimson, let's go to you for a point.
All right, Ultra, the menacing chicken god, the god of wrath. I think one of them said. I like the design. I like how flabby the legs were when it was like emerging from the egg, kind of adding like a physics to it. It's not beautiful looking when the legs are flappy, but I like that they added that.
Plot armor
it's
doesn't
not
step
very
on the
menacing,
parents.
getting bonked on the head and then KOing. But my biggest issue potentially with it is just the beak getting stuck on the floor. How was it going to eat the prey if it's just going to slam its head into the floor? It wouldn't have done that.
Yes, it was too aggressive. I agree.
It was just born and needs to learn how to eat.
Yeah, so just headbutts
That's
the
also a
floor,
point, but
tries to stab his prey. I don't know.
No, well, I actually don't. Well, in the shot, I actually thought his mouth was open and he just got stuck in the ground because he missed. But I do. It's plot armor that he doesn't step on the parents when it comes out because those legs like hang over the parents before it comes down.
yeah,
Oh yeah, it's close to them.
Ultra doesn't really move.
Not really.
Those legs did remind me of the Zilla, the Godzilla movie.
Interesting. I can
Like
see
just
it.
kind of the design look.
The legs, yeah. I also got the same thing. I was reminded of the Godzilla legs, kinda. I'll jump to Jimmy, or just after Sydney's and Jimmy escaped the prison. They kind of implied that things are going to go back to normal as soon as they're back on Earth. But I do like that they have at least common ground. Appreciating it's the archetypal arc that they have.
Yeah. Okay.
Like the idea that it's more of their banter, but she's like, where Jimmy thanks her for the pep talk, and he's just,
Yeah.
don't breathe a word of
You
it to
tell anyone,
anyone.
I'll kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they share a smile still, which again I think they do again good job. It's at least setting up their. If this is setting up for the show, they've done a good job setting that up.
I agree.
Does
Yeah.
Does the Eggheads return? Do the Eggheads return for the show?
Yes.
Okay.
This is not the last of us, Jimmy.
I can't remember if it's voiced by Patrick Stewart in the show, but the Cane
He's
does
part.
return. Something I noted, which just curious to me, where Jimmy's like telling them to build the rockets and we'll need this and bring snacks. When they're on the asteroid later and just like talking about their parents and everything, they brought firewood.
So someone planned ahead for a camp, a rest stop.
I can believe some kid was camp obsessed. It's not a great defense
like a
of
Boy
it,
Scout.
but I can believe that there was a Boy Scout or something. Yeah.
Okay.
And
I just found it weird. I'm
Jimmy's
like, why did they bring wood?
Jimmy's like brings food, and then Carl brought toothpaste and didn't know it.
Yeah, astronaut food.
Yeah. I don't think again Jimmy's friends are not the brightest.
But
I just love that one of them gets their own TV show.
yeah, Planet Sheen. Ooh.
Planet Sheen.
That's just.
I do like that
imagining
Jimmy...
it just gives me a headache, to be honest with you.
Oh, and the animation's different too. But
I mean, I'll take a different animation. To be honest, this is probably the ugliest film I've seen.
Ryder, you Planet Sheen's worse.
Oh, neat. I'll no plans to watch it anyway.
I like that Jimmy, even though is more intelligent, and it's good with the scene of like Carl showing him like I drew a frog, and Jimmy showing the blueprints. That even though Jimmy's far more intelligent than Carl and Sheen, he doesn't hold it over them.
Yeah,
he doesn't like boast or.
The only person he holds his intelligence over is Sydney.
Yes, because it's kind of like a chess game, like just back and forth.
Yeah.
One-upping.
I do at least appreciate the attempts of the writers to cover like the difference between a geek and a nerd, and then kind of throw them together in Jimmy Neutron. Because Sheen's obviously the geek, and then his Carl is the nerd.
Sure, yeah.
I did like the collectible thing. Sydney tricking Sheen into opening.
Oldest trick in the book.
That was such a dick move from Sydney's part, and I loved it.
I didn't even know what's in there. Pretty good.
Crimson. You go for a pitch point.
Okay. So Giant Jimmy. I've never been a fan of Giant Jimmy. And I feel like they technically set it up of Jimmy not liking being called small, but it really feels like they amplified it towards the end. I feel mostly out of the blue.
They make it seem like it was a much bigger thing than it was.
Yeah. Like it really bothered him.
I mean, it's the climax is him getting called small, and him not liking that. That's the climax. So that did kind of seem escalated more than the setup that was for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he pulled it out, I don't know. Would you guys, if you were Jimmy, have grown yourself or shrunk them?
If we're going based off of the insult and now taking this as the big thing, it makes more sense that he would have been goaded into making himself larger. That being said, if he was clear-headed, I think he would have preferred to shrink them.
Well, and he could also shrink them and be like, "Who's the little one now?" or something like that. I mean, you could flip it.
Yes, but did they call Jimmy small?
Yes.
Okay, then that would have worked fine. I think either work.
The reason I lean towards more the other one is that it makes himself bigger, and because it was an insult directed at him, it's affecting his. It's more of a personal thing that way. Like I said, I do think if it's like a 70-30, I think. I could definitely see it going the other way. I'd be more 50-50 if it was it would be more him shrinking it them instead of making himself bigger if he was clear-headed. But I think the fact that he's not, it's what quote unquote triggered him essentially. I'm more on the fence of it being okay
I
that he does it.
I would have been more on the shrink them if it was the cane or all the egg aliens constantly telling Jimmy was small. Because even the Kane's kind of first introduction to Jimmy saying, "My, what a big head."
Yeah.
Didn't you also call him little in that same scene though?
Yeah, he calls them the
Also,
little
yeah.
saviors or whatever. I think that was the quote I wrote.
Yeah, that's later.
I wrote like one quote. Well. If it
Yeah.
isn't the littlest rescue party, hello itty bitty humans.
Yeah. That's when they're face to face.
So, yeah, technically set up, but it just feels
Hollow.
bigger than
Yeah.
the setup was.
Yeah.
Going
It
for.
does.
Yeah.
Especially with no like cutbacks and it's Jimmy talking to himself.
Like I mean,
And then it really feels forced on the other side when they're just like name calling him just like itty tiny little guy.
yeah,
It does feel very shoehorned.
Yeah, it feels very shoehorned. I think he could have just been working on the shrink ray the entire film in the background, and it finally works here. That would have been, I think, been a more satisfying payoff.
That would have worked, but then how would have you gone with him sneaking out?
Oh, like any
Out
other
his
normal
window.
child, just go down his window.
Oh, could have done that. Yeah.
He could have also had like a. He has a secret entrance through the fireplace. I could believe he has an entrance in his own
Well,
bedroom.
I think he has something in his closet from the show, if I'm not mistaken. But then again, that's the show.
Yeah, and they definitely really
Well, the
forced
closet dresses him, right?
The what?
The closet dresses him, right? Or was that outside?
It does. No, the closet dresses him, but I thought in the show there's like a little like trap door or something that takes him down to his lab or something. A question for the two of you, because I'm leaning yes, but I could be swayed. With all of the adults, not just parents, all the adults saved, and the kids going into the room and like everyone meeting with their parents and everything, is everyone in that room the entire population of Retroville?
If you're
I guess
assuming
other than
every
Miss
kid
Fowl.
went on the mission, I don't think every kid went on the mission.
Okay, they left some kids behind,
Yeah,
like the
I
cotton
don't.
candy eater or the news reporter.
And the news reporter. Yeah, I don't see a reason to assume every kid went on this mission.
Okay,
But I would agree that that's all the adults, minus the teacher from the town. So I'd say a high percentage of that town was empty at one point.
okay, I can go with that then.
Yeah, by the time they get back after a week or however long this is, all the kids they left behind are dead.
Yeah, they can't make their own food unless they just throw it on popcorn. But
the neighboring towns have visited, like, where is everybody? It's a ghost town. And then they see these like starving kids doing what's the name of that book? Something Flies.
Lord of the Flies.
Lord of the Flies. There you go. You got that going on.
yeah, so book far more popular than its movie. How'd they know? Or actually, before I ask, how's everyone's notes looking?
On the thinner side.
Yeah, same.
It's
Thinner.
popcorn, so I'm trying to find things I haven't talked about.
Okay, just checking. Because I got a couple left myself. How'd they know that the ship they were in when they're escaping, the egg carton looking one, could survive that? It had
I have
like
that
the
written
whole
down.
integrity to survive that being that close being to a sun.
Haven't the
Yeah, I
fucking
have that written down.
faithist.
I wrote, how did Jimmy know how to fly it, and how did he know it wouldn't get destroyed by the star?
Yeah.
And the answer is, I don't think he would. You could say,
Yeah,
oh, he's smart enough to
think
figure out how to fly a ship, but the sun thing, no. Star. Can't say sun.
could be either or.
Is the chicken is obeying the king's orders, right? When he says to ordering the giant chicken to eat the kids.
Yeah,
Yes.
relatively.
I mean, it's kind of its own. It is listening, but it is also what it wanted to do anyways.
It's a little ambiguous. I find it funny that Shing crashed the ship into its head with the big bunk.
Well, first time flying ship.
Yeah.
Okay, oh, he had his Ultralord ship.
Ultra Lord ship.
The
Oh,
one,
that
the one
the
he
big
used to
wheel.
get.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the General Grievous looking thing.
Yeah. So he is an experienced flyer, even though he doesn't have a driver's license.
Let me just a quick question for all the Star Wars nerds out there. It doesn't look like General Grievous. It looks like General Grievous is like one wheel thing. That's what I'm talking about.
Yes, his land vehicle.
Yes.
I had a toy of that.
So did I. It was pretty fun.
Oh my gosh, I think I did as well.
Oh my goodness!
It's almost like Star Wars was really cool back in the day.
Yeah, it's like when Revenge of the Sith came out, we were all children. So
Yeah, my friends. That's gonna get off topic. Never mind. Let's wait.
ooh. Careful, careful.
No. I was gonna start saying I was gonna start talking about the toys that my friends and I used to get, but that would take away from what we're doing right now.
Well, I mean, you were
Another
kids.
time.
This is about kids, but this is about aliens because this is what was voted upon.
Yes, this is the Alien movie. Out of the
Yeah.
4, but let's see. When I think it's an animation error, just like a little detail loss. When Jimmy gets on Goddard to turn back to before growing, heading like directly, playing chicken with the alien ship coming at him. And when it previously showed them trying to escape and they're being shot at, they're right at each other, like they're directly behind. So when Jimmy gets on Goddard and goes towards him, the ship he was just in is gone. It's now just Jimmy and the alien ship.
But yeah, things are not also where they should be in space. That happens every now and again.
Yeah.
On the topic of that, though, I do like how they played with the perspective of Jimmy in the window. Steve's looking at him and it's normal size Jimmy, but because it's in space, it's kind of relative. You have no comparison of size. But then obviously he gets closer, and then it's like, oh my gosh, it's
Huge.
I agree. Oh, I had a point. Dang it.
But while you think about it, let's go to Crimson for a point.
All right, a crimson point. So we have, I talked about earlier where the kids were pretty capable of operating the town with the one day. There were no parents. I mean, the diner was running, the whoopee cushion diner. My biggest thing is they were able to broadcast on television.
Yeah,
They
that
knew
too.
how to do
It's
that.
pretty fucking impressive.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, these kids know how to do all this. And when the reporter's going around town, it's like, oh, they know how to sync up a camera operator to broadcast possibly to a van or something, or just like to the news station. It's like that seemed a bit technologically advanced for these kids.
Yeah, and there's also
In
the
today's
aspect
day and
of,
age, I'd buy it more, but not
I
that.
wouldn't know how to start up a broadcast like that. But that's me. And then also the aspect of a lot of these buildings probably would have been locked or something, or passwords to enter computers to access stuff. I mean, there's a lot of elements of why it probably wouldn't work out the way they portrayed it with no adults around.
I agree.
But they did a good job, I think, portraying what kids would want to do, with no
Which is
parents around
party,
them.
eat junk food,
Yeah.
and have fun.
Con candy competitions with that kid, because con candy you can have a big, like a hand size of it, but it comes down to like a size of
It's just sugar.
like a tooth or something, and he got big. That's a big boy. That's a lot of cotton candy. I don't even know how much cotton candy that is.
He
That's a
Well, you also
ingested
don't know how big that
gallons.
kid was to start.
I mean, that's true. But I mean, he like hiccups and his shirt bursts open, so he had to have grown a bit.
Yeah. One of my last points is I appreciated the what's it called? The like set the micro setups for all the kids in the final battle, like setting up Sydney's like black belty with juice or whatever. I don't remember what the juice is called.
Purple Flurp.
Purple Flurp.
Purple Flurp. All right, yeah, I liked that was kind of set up. I liked Carl's inhaler was set up. So the ways that they contribute to the final battle were interesting. And I guess I appreciated little micro setups there.
It was so ruthless. Some of these, the way they were dispatching them. I mean, what was her name, Lydia or something like that? The one with the headphones that
Oh, Libby.
liquefied him. Libby.
Yeah, she Mars attacked him.
Dude, that was vicious murder. Because that one's split into pieces. That one doesn't have a pile with eyes poking out. That one's gone. That one's a dead one.
Yeah, he's ripped
And
in half essentially.
Jimmy killed dozens, possibly hundreds, with that whole star thing.
They're
Them all
murderers.
getting blown up.
They're kids from
Yeah.
Texas. They stick to it.
Remorseless
Sorry,
killers.
that's a bit dark.
I mean, when you're having to grow up wearing Kevlar to your schools, you know.
Whoa.
We're the kids of
Wait.
America. Whoa.
Whoa, yeah, whoa.
I'm going to hell. That was a dark joke.
Who's so looking at my notes, I from what I have left we've already touched on, so I think I'm out.
I can probably squeeze out a couple more, but I'll limit myself to 2.
Okay, we'll start with you, Raider, then.
All right. I loved the when the king's brother, quote unquote, dies, he begs to get put in a bucket, so he's there for the end battle. And to show him there, like next to the throne in a bucket, was pretty solid and funny. A nice visual gag.
It's funny making him smaller now,
It's a
because even in that bucket, he's smaller than Jimmy.
Yeah, it's true.
That is true. Oh, jinx.
Oh, I guess me next.
Yeah, Crimson, if you got one. I realize I do have one left, but
okay. When the kids are coming after Jimmy, after I guess their hangover day.
Oh, the angry mob.
They're acting like zombies, and I wasn't a fan of it because the initial cut has a couple of them with their arms sticking out like zombies and whatnot. And then after Carl's like, they look like they're going to be sick. Every other shot of them is them like hunched over with their hands on their bellies like they're sick. I'm like, okay, why did we have to do the zombie thing when they could have not done the arms sticking out like they're zombie?
Crimson for a scare tactic.
Yeah, obviously they need Jimmy to be afraid and assume that they're there to put him to death.
Yeah, intimidate.
I really like Jimmy's line there though. In times of crises, intellectuals are always the first to go. Like, yeah, that's pretty good.
I'll go with the last one I found here. When they're in the jail, and it's kind of going from the top, it's another transitional usage, but going down to show them in the jail, there are green pipes of goo, like sending things to and from. Being that the aliens are green themselves, is that like life force or flesh or blood? Or is that a completely different thing?
It could be. I mean, how are these things born? That could be that.
Okay. I'm just curious, like,
Don't
it
really
just
see where
it
it
was the
goes
same
or-
color as the aliens.
I'm trying. What did Jimmy first say? Like beings that have lived past the point of needing a physical body. I think is what he said.
Something like that.
Um, So they're synthetic in a way. So I could believe that that's them before being born or corporeal or whatever you want to list it as.
Okay. Before Jonathan Jacobo electrifies it.
Exactly. And spits in his face.
Okay. I was just curious on that. Ryder, did you piece it to anything?
I did not know.
Okay. Well, with that, we'll go to your other point you have.
All right. I quite liked. Dang it! Now I'm gonna find it again.
Oh,
I can go again while you're doing that.
All right.
So talked about what would kids do when parents are gone, and one that I think so many kids would do that isn't shown, and obviously they did it because they didn't want to portray it to actual kids, is driving cars. I feel like there'd be so many kids that would try to drive cars with no parents around. And there
Glad
weren't
we don't have to
any,
deal with those
but they did.
casualties.
And obviously you don't want to portray that in a positive light in a kids movie. So I understand why it's not there, but it just seems like it would be there.
Yeah, I think so.
So I don't have an issue with it. It's just a observation, something kind of missing on the concept, but I understand why it's not
Yeah, you just have Carl riding a llama.
there. Yeah. Wave more than just poking it. Now he's standing on it.
Yeah, he's standing on it. Yeah, it's a bit much. Also, I don't know if Carl would do that. It seems too dangerous for Carl to do that.
Carl's a weird one because he seems like a cautious guy, but he does anything Jimmy tells him to do. So to the point where I don't even know if I can give him like cautiousness as a character trait.
He's a lackey.
He is like he is more of a sheep. He's certainly not a leader.
I did find my last point.
Oh, perfect.
So I will jump back to when when Hugh goes up to talk to Jimmy in his bedroom, where he's kind of still being a goofball, and his message that he's trying to teach, in lesson he's trying to impart on Jimmy, is coming out incoherently. I did still appreciate the core of that message because he's trying to talk about responsibility to Jimmy. Obviously, it's nonsensical because it's supposed to be kind of funny that he is a goofball, but I still appreciate the intention behind what he's trying to do, and it kind of feeds into the theme of the whole story.
Yeah.
Yeah, you talked about how they're good parents, and to you, they're more on the neutral side because they don't have a lot of layers to them. But to me, I think they're pretty high up there to me on like at least cartoon parents. I don't know if I could label it on just media, but I think cartoon parents they're pretty up there.
Yeah, most cartoon parents are, I guess, can be neglectful and
They usually don't get much
They're
focus.
yeah, they're
they
not
are
usually the
better
focus.
than they're better than Timmy Turner's parents.
Is
Yeah,
that the
that's for
fairy
sure.
godparents?
Yes,
Okay. Yes,
but
they aren't parodies. I agree.
I do like Danny Phantom's parents more.
I mean, they're more like lovey-dovey towards each other than I feel like the trio. I mean, there is that dynamic, but
What
I
about the
feel like
parents in Rugrats? Those are
I
good
don't
parents.
remember Rugrats well enough to answer that. Or Thornberries, I don't know.
Oh no, Nigel Thornberry's a doofus.
Nigel, smashing.
Marianne, I can't see throughout my eye. Move your hand, dear. What a woman. But like the Rugrats movie, Stu goes far and beyond to save his kids.
Yes, he does do that.
So I guess these are also just Nickelodeon parents, but
Aang's parents are dead, so I can't really compare him to the only
no,
Nickelodeon.
yeah,
I
yep,
can't really compare him to the only Nickelodeon show that I actively watched outside of Danny Phantom.
yeah. And SpongeBob's parents, I think, are the most neutral.
I
They're
mean, they
just
barely
there.
have much screen time.
They
Yeah,
exist.
when they're around, they're
I
just
didn't even
there.
know he had parents. To be honest with you.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, and they aren't new editions either. They were actually fairly
that was a
new.
season 1 thing, the Nematodes episode.
Yeah.
I think that's season 1.
They were nematodes. Yeah, nematodes was season 1.
Yeah, when they ate down his house and they're taking him away. Anywho, any other points anyone wants to make?
And I guess just the last thing to tack on with the parents is we didn't talk too much on it, but just the talk. Oh no, all right, 2 points. I like that they were reading the book on how to treat a it
Gifted
wasn't like
mind,
a special kid, gifted mind. Is that what it was?
something like that.
Whatever it was, I think that was a really nice addition. I liked it. It's past this them passively trying to fix it and actively researching it,
Yeah,
which is a whole nother level.
I
And
agree with that.
I thought
That's
that was
one of my favorite little bits of the film as well.
and they're pretty much their last interaction before the whole burping thing, uh, with the mom talking to Jimmy and stuff. It's just good parents reiterating. There we go. That's my point.
Yeah, and then Carl freaking out over an egg. It's just breakfast.
Oh yeah, they have the. I don't know if you saw the Murder on the Orient Express or
I've seen the new
Death in the
one, not the
Nile.
original.
Yeah, the newer one or the
I've
newer
seen
ones. They have like Poirot's like favorite breakfast drink that he's OCD about the 2 eggs.
Oh, I did not make that connection.
That was a funny little connection I made.
And there's the eggs in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. To anyone who's seen that,
Didn't make that connection either.
Don't know if I've gotten that far.
I don't know. Actually, no, you did. That was in the high school.
Okay. All right.
Anyways,
I'm out.
All right. And Crimson, you're out?
I'm out.
All right. With that, then, we'll go do summaries and ratings. Let us begin with Crimson.
Okay. So I will start with my. You know what? I won't change it up, and I'll go with my subject.
Whoa.
I know, adventurous. I know. So I did a lot of praising. I've talked about nostalgia glasses, and uh, that's been a lot of praising, a lot of bashing, but a lot of it doesn't really detract my enjoyment of it. I think the biggest detractor is Jimmy's stupidity with the notes and not realizing that there's something up with the parents just disappearing and not thinking anything of it. That kind of takes me out of it a little. Everything else is quite enjoyable. Is it a high echelon film for me? No, but I do find enjoyment of it. I will certainly watch it again in my lifetime. So I have it at a 7. Good, great, not quite, but good. Objectively, not great. Lots of continuity errors that were picked up, most of which I didn't really catch. You guys brought them to my attention. Uh, the hardest thing for me to determine is the rules of the universe, the world building. We've talked on other movies and shows about how if a world doesn't set their own rules, how hard do we apply the rules? And this world doesn't really apply rules to like them flying in space. We're imprinting like, oh well, obviously in our world you need a helmet or you need some sort of protection to space. In here, we don't have a rule for that. The closest thing we have is the fighter jet pilots with their helmets on for oxygen. But that's the closest thing to any kind of rule. And then there's also the spectrum of cartoon logic also in play. So it kind of is a hard balancing act. And as Ryder brought up, and I agree, that they were consistent with their what was the word you used? It started with an N.
Negligence.
Negligence. They were consistent with their negligence. They were not inconsistent with it. So I I think I'm gonna have it at a neutral bad territory. I'm not going to label it as bad. The world building is a broad spectrum. Um, the characters, a lot of them are pretty hollow, or just one line characters. Carl and Sheen, they don't really have any growth moments. They're kind of just there. They're pals. They're comedic relief. Jimmy and Cindy get some growth, uh, and the parents don't have much growth, but they're we talk we I praised a lot about the parents and the messaging in this. I think they did a good job with that. The visuals, I mean, Sprink said it himself that it was nominated, so it must be really good. Definitely hasn't aged very well. I don't think it's poorly done. I also don't think it's great for the time either. It's kind of just they got it out there. Good job, Nickelodeon. And the last part, I guess I'll go with it, is the music. Hardest one for me because I just it's so linked to me and it all just fits perfectly to me that just thinking, does this scene need this song or not? I can't picture it without it. It seems worse without it. So to try to remove the bias, I'm going to have music at a neutral because I was unsuccessful in separating my bias from the music. So at the end of the day, I am leaning at a 5. Yeah, I feel okay with a 5.
Okie dokie. I'll go next. We'll save writer for last here. I'll start with my subjective. This is a movie that, being I saw a lot as a kid, it was probably a different number than what I have it now. Being now an adult, and especially for the podcast and going through it and kind of just like picking up all the details and kind of like, not necessarily like, I guess Shrek is a good example, but it's like the enjoyment of a kid movie and what is there for the adult that takes the kid to the movie kind of thing. I'm kind of now in that seat. It's like, what is the stuff to entertain the adult to be there? And this movie doesn't have like much of that of entertainment wise, and it's not abysmal. I said that word twice. It's not horrible um, to sit through or anything, but I just don't see it as enjoyable, I guess, as I did when I was younger. More just like, oh, the chicken dance, dance around with it, or um, little whoopee cushion fart joke. Um, but now it's just, I think it's just fine, especially for how fast the movie is. It's not like a slog to sit through. So I'm at a 5.5. I don't know if the movie would ever get worse for me, but I don't think it's going to be as good as it was when I was younger. So it's just right in the middle road for me. Objectively, yikes. I think the transitional usage is pretty good throughout this movie. Nothing's bland on that. They do some creative transitional changes both visually and with dialogue, and I think that's good. There's some tongue-in-cheek jokes that are in there that are, as I said, maybe stretches, maybe unintentional, possible. I don't know, but it does seem like there is a connection that can be made to it, which I do a lot. Um, so there's a lot of those, which I think is good, kind of thing. If that's how I'm viewing it, as it's good by a connection made that way. Um, I'm kind of with writer. The animation's a bit ugly. I don't know if it's just if it's time of 2001. Um, the first CGI animated movie in completion was Toy Story of 1995, which is 6 years prior. But I just don't think this looks the greatest. Something I caught a lot is that any character that's not talking or in the background never like blinks, and it's just a detail I guess they did not to animate it, but everyone's staring like the whole movie, which just gives it kind of slight unease. Um, the whole science is up in the air. They say nonsensical things that make sense, but nothing's connected of it. Like Jimmy just spouting out like light years and then like this to this and how the science works here, but then doesn't apply uh, fully on board with the whole like consistent with their negligence. Voice acting's okay. Nothing seemed like really like gut punch, like wow, what a performance there, but nothing was like that was a terrible line they should have redone. Um, The cinematography is always hard to do, always hard for me to do for an animation. It's fine. Nothing was like weird, like no like crazy Dutch angle movements, or I guess the meteor shower is the only thing, but it's like showing like action kind of movement stuff. So it's all pretty safe in that department. Um, Pacing, I guess the pacing of it very quick, but it does fit the story they're going with or what's on screen. But there is kind of two breathing points, but I wish there was a little more variation rather than kind of like a hill and plateau kind of feel. Um, this was one I was really curious. I didn't know if the two of you would sway me because I was thinking I could either add a 0.5 to my number or deduce a 0.5 to my number, but it's not moved after our conversation. And where I have it is at a 4.
Is there a direction you think we would have been able to move you easier?
I didn't know because I see there's pluses of this movie, but there's also minuses of this movie, and I knew the writing and everything. Writer could get up to things that I wouldn't pick up, which could lower it and like character and whatnot. But Crimson, I feel like you would also say things with like nostalgia glasses, which is where I come from in history a bit, that could raise it and stuff I forget. So I could see it either one of you moving me in a direction.
Okay.
But I think I'm pretty fine with it being at a 4.
That's fair. I guess I'll go.
That leaves you.
Yeah. I'll do my subjective first. I don't have any nostalgia blinders. There were a few jokes in here that made me smile. I didn't really belch out, laugh out loud. The science stuff gets under my skin because when a show is pretending to be smart, it gets under my skin when it's not. I found enjoyment in Jimmy's parents for the most part. I didn't really care for anybody else as far as characters go. Um, I I would not be convinced to continue with the show after seeing this. Um, so I'm probably at a 4 subjectively. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. It just ain't for me. Like I'm not gonna go out of my way to watch this again. I'm not gonna go watch the show. I'm not really gonna do anything with this particular IP. Like I just I didn't enjoy it that much. What little fun I had was scant and far in between. And one of the biggest chunks out of me for that is definitely the animation. The animation is just awful to look at for me. Um, but yeah. So no, didn't get much on the subjective end for this film. So 4. Um, Objectively, world building is a mess. I would say it's inconsistently a mess. They pay homage to the necessity of some things and then don't adhere to them at all going forward, which the jet one has kind of become the main thing for that one with the pilots wearing the masks. So still a mess. I'm not going to grade it too harshly based off of that because it's consistent with it being a mess. So it's not like it's not going to get any points to go with it. The plot, however, I would say it's structured. I see the skeleton of the plot that's there. My issues with it are I think some of the payoffs are rushed. I do think the fighting stuff is fine. I think Sydney talking to Jimmy is giving him a pep talk is rushed. I do think Sheen's friendship comes out of nowhere. I didn't get a chance to talk about this. I didn't know they were friends until they were walking along a sidewalk together. I would have expected a more natural entrance for this character because I have no idea who these characters are, pretty much. So I found that to be kind of awkward as for an introduction to Sheen. I do like the way the trio bounce off each other. I did enjoy a lot of what the film was trying to say. I think all the characters are nicked outside of maybe Sydney, because I attribute that more to problem being more of a pacing issue, and Jimmy's parents are also fine. I think Jimmy's intelligence is damaged. I think Carl is. I can't really get a read on Carl, to be frank with you. I think he's very, very passive as a character, which is fine. He doesn't get out of the parachute to help himself at all. And he also sprays himself in the face with his inhaler, which does come back at the end, which I like, but I think he's, again, it comes to a point of like every character is acting a very specific way to facilitate a specific outcome without them necessarily needing acting within the natural realm of their character traits. So I have some kind of a similar problem with a lot of the characters. That did take a nice chunk out of the objective for me. Funny enough, have been bouncing between a 4 and a 5. I think I'll land right between you two. I'll land at a 4.5.
Oh boy.
Good choice, audience. I'm glad it was picked. That was happy that one.
Yes, in case you're curious, this outbeat District 9, Arrival, and John Carpenter's The Thing. In case anyone's curious.
Well then, gentlemen, shall I read us out, or are we gonna
one final question to pose? Brian, sinister wheel pick for African Queen kind of feels appropriate here because someone did pick something, being the audience. How well do you think this qualified as like an alien movie? You think it does its job?
Yeah,
I think aliens are present,
I would say
so.
definitely. There's abduction, alien
abductions.
planet. We see the aliens.
All right, I'm inclined to agree with that. Figured I'd ask.
Yeah, I agree as well. All right.
Okay, Ryder, I think you're good.
All right, cool. Thank you, audience, for listening, whether it be Spotify, Amazon, Castbox, GoodPods, iHeartRadio, Podcasts, and Samsung. And if you happen to be in our visual side of things, be it YouTube or Rumble, thank you for watching our PNG slideshow there. Please feel free to like, comment, subscribe everywhere. Tell us how much you hate our opinions or how much you love them. And as always, I've been a Geeky Writer.
I'm Crimson Maroon.
And I'm Springs.
And we will catch you next time. Later, everybody.
Bye.
Toodaloo.